Hello and welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. Dan and I are hot off of the Midwest Gaming Classic, which we both went to yesterday at the time of this recording. So we can start by talking about that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll start there because that's the big
what we
topic
got.
of the episode.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So we were there. We were there pretty much from like the time it opened until like mid-afternoon, I'd say. We probably made,
yeah.
I'd say we made like probably around the vendor area, like completely, maybe like 3 or 4 times, just going through looking at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. We found some stuff. We didn't find everything we were looking for. You never do. But,
no, you never do.
We found a lot of cool stuff. It's grown. Like I have not been to it since 2019. You were there last year, and I think the year before.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it in 5 years, but I will say like it could be almost like PAX level big now.
It definitely feels
because it is 3 levels different. Of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Because it's not just we pretty much just spent our time in the vendor thing, but they also have the museum area that they'll have like every system ever made hooked up you can play on. And then they also have like a pinball area that's just a ton of pinball machines. The thing I thought that they did that was smart this year is like in years past, and maybe they did this last year, I don't know, but they would put that stage with the music in the vendor hall and it just sounded terrible because that's not a good venue for that.
They moved
and
that
it sounded better.
Year. Yeah. It's definitely it's better laid out this year because even like the board game room is just moved down to the first floor. It's twice as big. You can go in there and hang out and play board games. There's a lot to do if you want to spend the whole day there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But, I'm at a point now where I don't want to spend the whole day there.
No, that was, I was good when you were like, we could be good now. I was like, that's fine with me.
Yeah. I like to at least finish at least a lap of the vendor room and then kind of go back to the couple booths that were good. Because as if anybody's ever been to a con like this before, Matt, you know this just as well. There are tables that are good. There are tables that are okay. And there are tables that are very bad. And when I say very bad, I mean, there were 2 tables in specific at this, or like 2 booths, you would say, where, wow, it seems cool because they have a lot of stuff. Like the GameCube section is one thing, had every GameCube game you could pretty much think of. But then you think to yourself, why do they still have all these games? Oh, it's because they're all overpriced.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like they're all at least minimum 20 to 40% over what they should be. And it's almost as if you get a feeling from these people where they're almost bringing this stuff to like show off. Yeah. We have all of this stuff. And they're willing to sell it for you if you pay an exorbitant price. Like this booth alone had probably 150 boxed Game Boy and Game Boy Color games.
Yeah.
But they're behind the thing where you can barely even see them. And there's no pricing. So it's like, are you actively trying to sell this stuff or not? Probably not.
The kind of people that when you ask to see a game, they're like, okay, let me check out the price real quick. Give me one moment.
Yeah.
And they have to scan it. I can't stand
that. But then there's only 2 of them working this booth that's like huge. So you're constantly waiting. Yeah. And it's just.
I will say there was a lot less this year of people pulling out their phone to look at price charting.
Yeah, not as much.
There wasn't a lot of that, and there was a lot of pretty much every single time I would hand somebody like the couple things I was buying at a booth, and I'd be like, "Will you do this on it?" They were like, "That's fine."
I got deals on
I don't think any single person shut me down on anything this year, which is this as well. Well, a lot of it too is just like I would do it purposely. So like, okay, this is going to be $20, or I have a 20 even. It's 23. Will you take this 20? Sure, because they don't want to break that chain.
Well, especially if you're paying cash.
Yeah.
Cash automatically gets you a discount, and then you can use it to get even further. Yeah. Because none of them want to do cards.
I paid cash for everything except the one specific thing. So
yeah.
And that was just because I planned ahead. So to bring this amount.
There were a couple really cool booths. I also liked seeing like the collectibles and the stuff people make. Just to see, because it's interesting. You and we bought a couple like 3D printed.
Yeah, like I got a cool Castlevania one. I think you got like the White Mage from.
I've got a White Mage from Final Fantasy 1, and then I got like a little like Pokemon logo 3D printed sign, and they look really good. That guy had a lot of other cool ones like Super Nintendo, Nintendo. He had a really cool Final Fantasy 7 one.
That was really
which
cool.
was pretty neat because
I was
it
very tempted on
about
that
a
too.
foot long. I was tempted, but
the Castlevania one for me was a good purchase just because now that I have pretty much every Castlevania game minus one, I could put that all on a shelf or
like
something
shelf
with
or a
that sign.
case.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's really cool. So,
and that's what I plan on doing with like the White Mage and stuff. And I'd be interested to see if maybe next year he has one that's like the old Final Fantasy logo, like from 1 in the box or whatever. That would be cool to like.
we
add to
can
that.
talk about the one thing there that we both think is bullshit.
Oh, let's talk about that before we
We
get
can talk
into what we
about
got.
because it was the line
It's
was
insane.
ridiculous.
Yes.
They're like it's a mystery box thing. I'm sure you've seen those at conventions that you've gone to, Matt, where it's like the box itself is like a little carry around box that's like it looks like it's a
2 feet
Game
tall,
Boy, right?
2
Yeah.
feet tall by a foot wide.
That they
by
just
a
fill
foot
with
long.
shit, and then the gimmick is one of these might have a PS5 in it, and you have to pay. I think is it $50?
They're like $50.
Yeah, but
Wow,
for
like-
whatever reason, the line was like wrapping around. I'm talking. This line was bigger than
I
any
went out
celebrity
to the
that was
wall.
there.
Yeah, I went out to the wall and down the lane
Holy cow.
just for a
For-
chance to buy a $50 quote
That
unquote
may
mystery
have
box.
a PS5 in it.
That's probably worth $15 to $20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like those things are scams because
Mhm.
they control what's in them. It's
Yeah.
like I will say the other thing that surprised me this year is there were a lot more card vendors. Like obviously cards have blown
cool.
up, like Pokemon
like
cards,
Magic. Yeah,
Magic, all that stuff has blown up. Even like Final Fantasy card game, Digimon card game. There was cards
Mhm.
of every kind at this place.
mm-hmm.
But again, there was that thing where it's mystery packs.
Mm.
It's got 10 random cards in it for $10. There's no possible way that was worth $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you a secret about card vendors and how they work. If you're buying from an open box that's on this table, that package has probably been weighed.
Mhm.
And,
for sure.
and the ones that might have a good card in it, they've already opened themselves and pieced out the cards, and they've left all of the rest to you.
Yep.
Like card collecting, this is a tangent, but I considered getting back into it like 2 years ago.
No.
Thought about it, but then I realized that the only people that really seem to get these great cards are the people that break the boxes online, like baseball cards. It's really strange how that one of one LeBron James and his son card was opened by a guy who opens packs of cards for a living. How odd. And how odd that it was done a couple days before that line launched.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so strange. Like the whole thing is rigged.
Yeah.
And unless you're watching them open a box of cards from the cellophane and then open the packs, everything's been weighed, everything's been opened up. And that's the same thing with these Pokemon cards at these shows.
Yep,
You think you're going to get a good Pokemon card out of any pack at this show when they're also selling graded cards right next to it? No.
Yeah.
No.
It's so like it's a good place to buy singles. Like if you're there and you're like, I know I want that Charizard, I'm willing to pay the $200. You can find that.
Yeah.
But packs, no way. Like
No.
just not worth it. So that was kind of a bummer, but yeah, I mean, we got some good stuff. I didn't get some of the stuff I was looking for because I just didn't find it, which is very strange
No,
on a convention
like-
of this size.
My number one thing that I was looking for was Eternal Darkness for GameCube, and we found one copy. You found it.
I found one copy in a pile at a booth that had a lot of good stuff for
Mhm.
good prices. So I pulled it out. It was marked at 90, which I would say is probably like the level you were comfortable with.
Oh yeah,
The case felt good.
had a manual.
Had a manual, and then I flipped the disc over. You're not going to buy this for $90.
Not for exactly. That disc for that price, that disc needs to be good.
No, and they did have
especially
like
GameCube.
they do have like a resurfacer guy like on site at that place where you could pay to do it. I'm sure you
Yeah.
saw him up at the front because he had
Yeah,
like,
I did.
the big machine, and he's there to sell machines.
Dude,
But
that's a
Game-
smart gig right there.
It's an incredibly smart gig because
It
you
is.
buy for like a PS2 game that's a cheap game, sure. But GameCube games, as someone who has run those through machines,
Sucks.
they don't come out looking good
Yeah.
when you
No.
bought them. Even in like a professional machine, it never looked quite right on a GameCube game because of the size and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that was a bummer for you. I could not find a single copy of the Bigs 2 on PS3 anywhere in this entire room. It blew my mind. I had 3 people helping me look for this game and could not. I found it for 360 a couple times, could not find it for PS3. So now it's just like tomorrow. I'm just going to bite the bullet.
It's like me looking for Pro Evolution Soccer 2011.
Sure? I got that one in July. I can peep out for you.
What, Bigs 2?
Yeah, if you want me to.
For PS3.
I can check for it in July.
All right. I'll let you check for it too, but I'm almost at this point where I don't think this game actually existed. Who else is looking for this? It makes no sense that I can't find this game.
Yeah, and like for me, I'm looking for Pro Evolution Soccer 2011, and there are people that had 2012 and 2013, but nobody had 2011 for 360. To be fair, but
very bizarre.
Very bizarre. I mean, my number one thing, I think I showed it to you, Matt, that I was looking for other than Eternal Darkness was the first Blood Omen Legacy of Kain for PS1, which I have a lot of sentimental value for. Which I'll just say really quick. When I was a kid, I was not allowed to bring my PlayStation to my grandma's house because if I hooked up to the TV, that was going to break her TV. And when I got a little bit older, like junior high, I just was like, fuck it, I'll bring my own TV. And I brought my own TV to show her, like, it's not going to break, you know? And the first game I rented, because the thing was, I went to that video store all the time, rented tapes all the time. They had this amazing room of video games. And that was a game I never seen anywhere else. And I wanted to play it really bad. And so I brought that up there, you know, rented it, and then discovered like how great that game is. I played it last year or the year before on Horror Stream around October. It still holds up as a really cool game. So, but I was happy to get that. That was like my second thing. And there happened to just be a booth where a guy had it exactly at the price that it's worth. Immaculate copy of it. The guy didn't even know what it was. That was the best part. He's like, I've never played this. Like, that's fine, dude. So I was happy to get that. I mean, pretty much everything else that I got a mix of like 360 and OG.
Run it down quick.
I'm going to run
down the titles.
I got a PS1 copy of Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX. Woo-hoo. As a kid, I played the Dreamcast version, but and that was the other thing. We'll mention it really quick. Dreamcast stuff at this thing drying up.
Yeah,
I saw more Turbo Graphics games than Dreamcast.
That was weird. I did see quite a bit of Turbo stuff.
I've been looking for this. It's probably bad. I never played it because it's from that era of Xbox that I didn't have an Xbox at the time. This Superman Man of Steel game.
I haven't played it. I would guarantee it's terrible.
It's probably terrible, but I want to play it. I actually already have this, but I needed a good copy of it, which is Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter. I know it sucks. I know it's bad. I remember when it came out, but
it's okay.
The copy I have is shitty. And my, quest to get every Atlas 360 game, I actually found a decent copy of the Cursed Crusade. So I'm happy to have that. We talked about right when we got this show, because I think last year when you went, you were looking for all the Final Fantasy 13s for PS3. Yes. So I decided to do that this year for 360 because for whatever reason, I randomly have 13-2. But I don't have a copy of 13 or Lightning Returns. And I was able to I got both of them for a good price. I
didn't know you found Lightning Returns. I found 13 pretty early. And
yeah, you found it for like $5.
And it's in really good shape,
and then,
too.
Yeah, I found a copy of it for, I think I paid $25 because it's one of the stickers I can't get off. But it was a complete copy. It looked great. So I was like, that's fine.
Sometimes it's worth it to pay like a little bit more than it's worth just to get it off of your list.
That's fine.
And just to get it out of your head.
Legacy of Kain Defiance, so now I have all of them finally. That's a series I actually want to go through and play.
Them all?
The only ones I've played are Blood Omen 1 and 2 and a little Soul Reaver. Our friend that went with us, Tyler, I didn't know he was looking for this game either, and he went to grab it before I could. Thankfully, I found it in another booth. Is the pretty shitty 2009 remake of Bionic Commando.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With the great twist about his arm. I won't spoil.
No, you need to spoil it.
It's his fucking wife.
It's his wife.
And then finally, I did not have a copy of this on original Xbox. I have it, I think, on GameCube, and I wanted to get it on Xbox. Is Dave Mirra 2?
Yeah. Which
is a great fucking game. So, the only other thing that I got, I don't have it with me right now. The YouTuber, the Nostalgia Critic, was there, and then the one that I watched, his name is Brad Jones. He's the Cinema Snob. I watch him because he reviews like everything, but he reviews horror movies, and my opinion is like pretty on point with him most of the time. It was fantastic meet. It was like I had a normal conversation with him for like 10 minutes because my girlfriend was like very hesitant to go up to that booth, and I'm like, look, there's no line, like they're just standing there. And we just had a normal fucking conversation about growing up in the Chicago area.
Yeah,
for like 10 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool when that happens at like cons and stuff because we talked about it before, but like when we went to C2E2 that one year and I got my Daredevil sign and the artist was sitting there and like nobody was over there.
Yeah.
I went over there and got my book signed and talked to him about like how much I loved his art and stuff. And we just talked for like 10 minutes about stuff and it was cool.
So it was cool. I bought his book. He signed it. So I don't have that in here, but yeah, that was really cool. But that's what killed me. I'm like, this dude's here. There was barely a line, but this huge wraparound line for these stupid mystery boxes.
Well, then as we were leaving, you see people carrying like 2 and 3 of them. And it's just like, I told you, we should get a booth next year.
And just do it.
I just fill it up with literal trash for $20. You could get something or trash.
Yeah. Do you think any single person by the time that event was over got the PS5? I don't.
Well, that event is still running today.
It is.
As much as you would like to believe that they're mixed up so that the staff doesn't know which one it could be in. Let's be honest. Maybe there is one of them. Maybe for legal reasons of selling these or something, there has to be one. Although I doubt this is above board. But they know exactly which one it is.
Oh, for sure.
Wherever it is. It's not a game to them.
Oh, the one other thing that I got was my girlfriend found a booth that was selling coffee mugs, which I collect coffee mugs. She found a cool Halo one that was half price. It's only $6. Just a UNSC one. And I was like, for $6. That's pretty cool. So,
that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, there was a ton of cool shit. We saw one of the other cool things I saw. I'm sure the prices were absurd, but people at their booths would have like cardboard cutouts of movies from the 80s and 90s from like video stores. So like we saw Superman 3 where he's carrying Richard Pryor.
That's pretty cool.
Beetlejuice, which was awesome.
Lots of old promo art stuff. Yeah.
Lots of old promos art. We were kind of kicking ourselves on some of the GameStop stuff because people are the Mario one where they had the panels. Yeah. Like Mario, Luigi, whatever. And that would have been, what game would that have been from?
Well, at one point it was just Nintendo themed.
Okay.
Remember? It wasn't, because if you've ever been in a GameStop, they used to have, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have these panels above each section where it'd be like the hot game of the moment. And they were big square panels, and real talk, those were a pain in the ass to put up because sometimes they just would not stay in.
He sucked.
But you'd swap them out every so often, and a lot of them, we would take some of them, but a lot of them would get tossed because they're not like posters. They're like a plastic, so you wouldn't be able to hang it on a wall really well. Because if you put a nail in it, it would crack. But this guy had the frame and just a Mario one because at some point it did just become Nintendo. $80. I'm like, shit. Could have had a ton of those.
Did you see how much? And I should look up and try to find out how much that Dragon Quest 9 poster I have is probably worth, but they were selling like Dragon Quest 7 posters from like promotional material. That was like $200.
Yeah.
Somebody was selling that for. Yeah.
Some of that stuff's crazy, man, especially depending on the game.
That's wild.
Insane.
So as far as
go over what you got.
Yeah, what I got, nothing like, there's nothing super special in here. It was just kind of stuff that filled an itch or was interesting to me. So like I got I was on my baseball game kick, so I got Super Bases Loaded 2, which is the one I didn't have because I had 1 and 3, so there's that. I laughed at it because I got this. I finally got Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City for Super Nintendo, and I laughed because you were like, "Oh, cool, that's a basketball game." I'm like, no, I never played. Not even close. It's a weird platforming game where he throws like ice basketballs and fire basketballs and stuff. It's not good at all. But it was cheaper than what it should be, so that was good. I got American Gladiators, which
that's good.
Terrible game, but it was under market value, so I got that. And then I got Wing Commander, terrible game, but under market value, so that's fun. That's all for Super Nintendo. And then for Nintendo, I got Trojan, which is a good one because I actually have the box and instructions.
That's
so
good.
Now I can complete that and put that away. I got Dungeon Magic, Sword of the Elements. I don't know what this game is.
I don't remember that game either. So
cool cover. It's a Taito game, so maybe we'll pop that in at some point and play it. Swords and Serpents to help me complete a bundle on that Michael Jordan game to get it for cheaper.
Yeah.
And then I got Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego.
That's good. Not a good version of that game.
Terrible
I have played it.
Game. I played it on PC a lot.
Good on PC, not on Nintendo.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really work on Nintendo, but it was cheap.
Yeah.
This was a cool one that I found, and you thought about it for a little bit, and then you put it back. So I was like, I'll just grab it.
Oh,
Silent Scope Complete for Xbox. These games are terrible on consoles.
They are.
But there's something about it that it was just like,
unless you have the scope, I'm sure it's okay.
I can't even imagine how much that gun is now, but like it's
insane.
Gotta be expensive.
Yeah, I only put it back because I found 3 other things I wanted more.
Some other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
I did manage to find Fighter Maker 2. We talked about it last time.
Yeah.
So I did manage to find that, which is cool. Couldn't find RPG Maker, kind of a bummer. And then I did find Home Run King for GameCube, another just random one-off baseball game. And then the last thing, I was kind of on a hunt for some import stuff. Specifically, I think I talked about it. I've been watching Detective Conan again. There's 5 Game Boy games in that series. And I came up on a booth that had a lot of import stuff. It was mostly just import stuff. There were a couple of them. And one of the buckets they had was just a bucket full of Game Boy and Game Boy Color like import games. Yeah. So I dug through this bucket for like 20 minutes. And most of it's Pokemon, most of it's Mario, other stuff you don't care about. I found one. So we got 1 out of 5, baby. They're probably just going to go online to look for the rest of it. And this is something that, it's funny because I have a translated ROM of 3 of them. Okay. I'll never actually play this, but it's just something cool. It's
cool to have it.
I have a glass case that my Game Boy stuff is in. I took one of those cases from work that had like, if you've ever been to GameStop, they're like 3 or 4 feet high, and they have like they put the DS games and stuff in it. I have one of those, so I can display stuff in it really nice, so it'll look good in there. I finally bought the Digimon Adventure game for PSP, which was Japanese only. Nice. This is a super cool one because it actually follows the show. Yeah. And it actually almost in like an episodic way. And it actually adds content to the end of the show to kind of fill in what should have been. Well, that's pretty cool. That was a cool thing to pick up. I've played it before on a ROM, but the artwork on it is incredible. I say this a lot. Like, if you've ever looked at Japanese boxes for stuff, Super Nintendo, Cube, everything, they're all better. And all of it's so much better. Some of it's hand drawn. Some of it's it's also like the full face of the box and not like the cutout window thing. And then the last thing I got as we were walking out, there was one more booth that had just a bunch of junk in it, but they had Japanese games sitting on a table, and it was like, if it's got a green dot, it's $5. I bought Detective Conan for PS1. I didn't even know this existed. I didn't even bother to look it up, but it's complete for $5, and it's
not bad.
In incredible shape. So, I do have a Japanese PS2. I wonder if this works in there, and I could try it out.
True. I mean, if it plays Japanese PS2 games,
it probably plays Japanese PS1 games,
I would think so.
Yeah.
What would stop it from being backwards compatible? You know,
I don't know. Nothing, because it was an old fat PS2.
Okay.
Which I got when I originally imported Final Fantasy 12.
Okay.
A friend of mine had a Japanese PS2, and he's like, "You can just take it because I don't use it anymore." Okay.
There you go.
That was it. That's everything I got. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, it was a really good show. Nice. Enjoyed pretty much every part of it. Just like I said, you get to that point, especially for something that I haven't been to in 5 years. We're at the midday. I'm like, I'm good at this point now. Like, yeah. The funny thing is, I didn't even spend all of the money that I brought with me. Close, but not all.
Yeah, you know what? I got a lot of this stuff on such good deals that as we were wrapping up and I was walking out, I'm like, I barely spent half of what I brought,
and I was fine.
And I tell myself every year, like, maybe I'll make that one big purchase. And I was looking for Jackie Chan for Nintendo, like, specifically.
Okay. Yeah,
everybody was overpriced, and as we went through, every next copy I saw was just even more. Some guy had it boxed for $400. Like, no, that's not what that game is worth.
No. What was that 64 game at the one table that was a Blockbuster exclusive that was like $1,200?
The Transformers Beast Wars. Okay. Yeah.
But again, box. So
yeah, any Blockbuster box, like official Nintendo box that survived.
Castlevania. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's... Yeah, overall was a really good show. The only other thing is, like, last time I bought a t-shirt, but I don't know what was going on with those booths this year.
It was up at the
official.
It was up at the front on the side, kind of tucked away.
Yeah,
we kind of walked past it. I was like, I don't really.
Yeah, I ended up not doing that this year, but yeah, no. Overall it was a very good show. Hopefully, I'm sure they'll be having it there again next year. So it just seems to keep growing every year. So
yeah.
But yeah, we can go ahead then and kick off what we've been playing. You and I both are, still playing Rebirth. You have finished Rebirth. I have not. I am about to go into the Shinra mansion for the, in the later part of the game. That's where I'm at. So I literally am to the point where you talk to the person like, are you ready to do this? And I'm like, no, I should save here.
Yeah.
So that is where I am.
It's funny because you're close and you're not close at all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I've seen more of the, the weirdness and the twists of like, okay, this there's this event, but it happens to a completely different character in this game, and stuff like that, which is weird.
That was a weird switch of what you would expect.
Yeah.
I finished it. I finished it. And I will say that I will not include spoilers in this episode, but 2 weeks
Probably
from
the
now,
next one.
2 weeks from now, I think we can go more in depth. But
because I'll kind of
give like a generalization of what I think, and it's not a spoiler to say that obviously you go to the Temple of the Ancients at one point.
No,
and it should be noted that is the point of no return. Once you enter that, you're on the path, right? And it does tell you. Okay. It says if you're ready, you can go, but you can't come back. Okay, so you'll know. Temple of the Ancients is handled in a very cool way in this game. Like it's not as in the original, it's just that kind of like one room where it's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. In this one, it's far more in depth about like you have to change gravity and flip stuff around. And the only thing I don't like about it, and this is a problem I had kind of with the entire game, is how it forces certain parties upon you. And I understand it from you want to get to know everybody and everybody's important and everybody has a story to tell. And I understand it, but like this game will force weird combinations on you of people that like you don't like to use, or
maybe I don't want to have Red 13 with Aerith and Tifa or whatever, Kate Sith,
right. Like it just doesn't fit your play style, because
it doesn't.
I like to play that game as Yuffie because I like having the long range stuff where I can throw it and I can spam magic. Or if she's not available and the game is forcing Barrett in my party, that's good too, because I can control the gun and it's a lot easier to kind of stay back and handle everything. There are some times where you don't have either one of those people. So it's like, fuck, you have to learn how to play a different way. You're close to one of those things.
I did one of those where you do all the trial stuff with Red 13, but that's with him, Barrett, and then the other dude, which you don't control.
Right. But at least that part you had Barrett, who is someone who is easy to control.
And I also got, and then, I mean, this, I guess, very minor spoiler, but you don't think about it when you're playing this remake, but obviously in the original game, you find out Red 13 is much younger than you think, but not voice acted.
The swerve,
Okay. In this fucking game, Red 13's voice is perfect. So you get to that part and he drops the old man like sound and he's talking like a child. It has to be a different voice actor.
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
No.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get to that town and he's just like, I'm home. And his whole voice changes.
Becomes
and you're
a
like,
teenager.
What the fuck is happening? And then the rest, I would assume the rest of the game, he talks like that, right?
He kind of goes back and forth depending on the moment. Yeah, depending on what's happening.
But it is ridiculous when you get to that because it's
a
so
weird
jarring.
Reveal.
Yeah. But good.
So Temple of Ancients kind of forces that upon you at a certain point, but it gets interesting because of the way they kind of meet back up together, and then you do all of the, it's a multiple boss rush kind of area. Finish that, okay, and then you're on the path to the capital, the Forgotten Capital, and eventually that port is very short. You kind of show up there. There's kind of a save area, and the game says, "This is it." Like you want to equip everybody and get ready, and you do need to equip everybody because after this, the game becomes an hour-long
boss fight,
essentially, where you're switching who you're controlling, you're switching what you're fighting. Other things happen I won't say, but it kind of goes in and out. There's a very cool sequence in it. Like it is very good. Like the combat, like how they handle everything is very good. There's a very cool sequence in it that reminds me of Advent Children when they're fighting Bahamut. And you remember that part where like they're kind of like throwing each other up and Cloud's like using the sword to push people up. That comes back where
that's pretty
they're kind of throwing people in and everybody's getting in an attack and everything. And then the final fight is pretty good. I will say that's the only one I died on, and luckily you only have to redo that part because there's a sequence in there where it's basically you have to do a set amount of damage in a set amount of time. Okay. And if you don't know that, and you think you can just kind of stay alive and keep hacking away, you can't. It's a damage rush.
Okay.
So, I didn't realize that, and then as soon as I died, I was like, oh, I guess there's a countdown. Okay. And the second time it was easier because I just saved attacks and then unloaded, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So then after that, you get about 30 to 45 minutes of cutscenes, kind of like wrap up, because this is the end. And I did get to see that part.
Okay.
And how we handle that part.
How it's handled in this remake.
What's different and what's the same. And I don't like it.
Okay.
And maybe the reason I don't like it is because the game ends after that.
Yeah.
And then we're setting off into whatever the third part of this game is, and I'm not quite sure what that's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, what is the third game at this point?
Yeah, because it should be noted, like, Sid, you never go to Rocket Town. It's never mentioned. Obviously, Wutai is going to be a big part of it because of the actual, like, story that's happening.
Yeah.
We have to go back to Midgar at one point. Mm-hmm. There are places to go, but it doesn't feel like the next game can compete with this game on the scope of the game.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing, because having finished the story, I have so much more stuff to do if I want to platinum it, that maybe this game is a little too much.
When you finish, like when everything's done, all the cutscenes, everything, does it let you go back to before the point of no return, or what does it do?
You get chapter select.
Okay.
So what I did was I just went back to chapter 12, because that's the last place you can kind of like run around. And it'll reset your progress on quests during chapter 12. There's also a weird thing, like you can reset all of your progress or some of your progress. And you do that to get the books that give them weapon points. And there's a lot. It's really convoluted of how it all works. And it can be confusing, but you can always keep resetting it and going to different chapters. What's cool is it does unlock the ability to date whoever you want during that sequence. Mm-hmm. It unlocks the ability to wear like the extra costumes anywhere you want.
Who was the person you got for the date?
I got Aerith. It's when you finish it, you have access to this thing called the play log, which basically tells you how many quests you've done for each of these people and how much they like you and what you need to do to get it to 100 and all this other stuff. But going back to how it's handled, I had a prediction a long time ago when we first talked about it, where I thought maybe there were two worlds running alongside each other, right? Okay. And then Aerith was aware of it. I'm not wrong, but I'm not right either. Okay. It's weird to say that, but like I was close. Okay. But what they actually do with it is okay, but it's confusing because you still don't get a definitive answer of like of the.
I mean, they're probably saving that for the last game.
I guess so, but there was room to tell you what it actually is when it happens.
There was,
and they kind of do, but they don't make it a good. They don't show you well enough what's actually going on.
It sounds to me like you wanted them to make this a Empire Strikes Back type moment, and they don't go all the way with that.
They don't.
If that makes sense.
They don't finish this, even what they've opened in this game.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they opened this up in this game, because the end of the first game is.
That's where it really kind of went a little off track.
The end of the first game is we killed Destiny and anything can happen.
Yeah.
They kind of pull that back in this one, where obviously you've seen a major difference.
Yes. There's one really major.
There's one very major difference.
Which we'll talk heavily about next time.
But they don't go far enough that way.
Okay.
But in another way, they do. But then they pull that back at the end. You said last time, and you've talked to me about it, where you think the next game is going to be called Reunion.
I think so.
You're absolutely correct, but it's not for why you think.
Okay.
And it's not just because they say that word all the fucking time.
Well, it also makes sense if you think about the titles: Remake, Rebirth, Reunion. It's the last one.
It's definitely going to be called Reunion, but there's a different reason why.
Okay.
And I'm interested. I don't think I'm as excited for the finale of this game as I thought I would be now, just because of how they handled this. But because of how they handled it, strangely enough, anything is still possible in the next game. It's like,
okay.
You know what I mean? There wasn't an ending to the can we opened this time. We didn't even shut off part of it. It's kind of opened up even more.
Okay.
It's a weird way to feel about this game because I do like the game a lot. I like the way it plays a lot. I like the open world a lot. It does feel like it's too much at times, but maybe that's on me for just being the only game I've really played since it's been out, other than baseball and stuff where I just screw around all the time.
Yeah.
So now that I'm finished with like the story, I'm going to take a break. I have to take a break from this game because if I try to go in there and slog through
too much,
all of these mini games and
it's like Yakuza level,
beating the whole game on hard again, all this other stuff, I just kind of need a break. Maybe that's the kind of thing where I wait and see if they announce a DLC. Maybe we get.
They might do like.
What if we got like a Sid DLC?
I could see,
and it's him in the Rocket Town part, and like that's all it was. Because Sid does almost nothing in this game. He's there, but he doesn't almost nothing.
He's there, but he doesn't do much.
Vincent actually, I told you he's not missable because he's actually important for certain things that happen later. You never get to control him, but he's important for him to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I just, I'm on the fence about how it ended, and it kind of knocks a point off of the game. So, maybe I just couldn't be pleased in the first place. Maybe it's my fault.
There you go.
I mean, other than that, I'll finish it by the time I record the next time. I played a lot more Supermarket Simulator. I am selling alcohol in that game now. There is no carding feature, but there's no children. So
that makes sense
if you think about it. But yeah, I am selling alcohol now. I am to the point where I have 3 cashiers. I had purchased, or I had hired, I should say. I had hired somebody to do stocking, and then I had said like the stocking part of the game is broken because it was doing this thing where they would pick the boxes up to stock the shelves, but they're stocking the wrong item on the shelf. It's like, okay, this shelf now has frozen pizza, but I can't do anything about it because it's stuck. They put out a patch and fixed that, so that's not a problem anymore. Okay. Again, the game's in early access, so people complain enough, they're going to fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now my store runs with 3 cashiers. I have 2 stockers. And I'm just trying to build it out as far back as I can. See, I want to build the entire thing, and I want to, just expand the thing as much as I can. So I put like 35 hours in that game. So unexpected game of the year, but I will talk about the last thing I'll talk about because literally the only things I played are Rebirth and that. But I will talk briefly about the disaster that is trying to get Diablo 4 to play on PC through Game Pass, because it is a shit show. It is horrible. So to explain it, you have to, and this makes sense why they did this way, but you have to link your Battle.net account to Game Pass. The minute you do that, every single time you load Game Pass, it will load Battle.net. If you don't want it to, and you go into the settings and you turn that off on your PC, doesn't matter. It will load Battle.net every single time. Secondly,
well, they own Battle.net, so why wouldn't they want you to launch it every time?
They need to just eventually. I imagine they'll just merge it into whatever they want it to be.
I don't know. Can they? That's going to be a mess.
Or do they merge it the other way? I don't know. But at this time, that's how they're handling it. But then that presents the second problem, which is you can install the game on Game Pass's app or on Battle.net.
Oh no,
it's broken on both of those. So to fix it, I had installed it once and I played it once fine. Like the first time I installed it and loaded it, it was fine. I played for like an hour, dicked around. My character was like, okay, cool. Shockingly, running that game on a 4070, it looks identical to the Xbox version. Like there's no, like even trying on ray tracing, which does now exist on the Xbox version. It looks identical. So if you're looking for like a crazy visual upgrade from console, it doesn't, like that game is already peak on the modern consoles. And it played fine. And then the next time I went to go play it, it was broken. Like it just wouldn't launch. I keep getting this error. Can't launch, whatever. But for the Battle.net application would tell me.
Yeah.
So I let it sit for a couple days, tried it again, still get the error. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I never click on them. I'm like, I'll click on this error message and see what they suggest, because I'd seen a lot of people bitching about it on the forums. And so they literally suggest in this thing to delete the game, uninstall battle.net, which was, to be fair, already installed on my computer.
Right.
And then reinstall the game, which will by default reinstall battle.net. For whatever reason, doing that fixed that, but it still had problems launching. But then I did get it to launch this morning, and I did get to play for a little bit. So maybe it's okay now, but it's just like for your big rollout, and I'm sure it's fine on console because you're just playing on Game Pass.
Right.
So who cares?
Yeah.
But this is strictly a PC problem, but it's a disaster to get it to work that way on PC. So hopefully at some point they can fix it. But I will say, putting that part of it aside, all your stuff's right there. So all your characters, everything, your save, all that stuff's already in, I guess I would assume, the battle.net cloud, kind of like how crossplay works.
Right.
So it's all there. So I could pull up and play with my character just fine. There's no problems with that.
That's good.
When it works.
Yeah.
But that installation process is a disaster. So I don't know what it's going to be like for other Blizzard games when they come to Game Pass, but hopefully they find a solution, because it is not ready for prime time right now. So I would say if you're looking to play Diablo 4 on PC Game Pass, and if it's your only way to play it, good luck. But if you have an Xbox, I would honestly tell you, especially if you have a Series X, just play it there instead. Yeah. It looks identical. Yeah. The only thing you're losing is keyboard and mouse. And if you really want a keyboard and mouse, you can go buy a wireless one and it'll work, because that game is one of the keyboard and mouse games. So, but that covers pretty much everything that I've played. I don't know if you had any other things besides Rebirth, Dan.
No, just baseball, more of that, doing the programs. Per your request, I will play Forspoken at some point soon.
We're going to hear about that next podcast,
yeah,
right?
I'll play some, at least get into it,
You got your Steelbook now.
I do have my Steelbook for it, too. It's ready to go. I don't know if we talked about it. We both picked up that Gloomhaven game for $20.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about it, but one day on Amazon, they had it for 20.
Yeah,
I think it was 20. Yeah,
maybe a little bit less. I think it was 20 after
19 something. Yeah, so I text you. I was like, I'm gonna do it because when they clearly are getting rid of the few physical copies they have left. Because I can't imagine they made a lot.
You can't tell me they second printed Gloomhaven for PS5. No.
And I was like, I'll do it, and then you did it as well. So. Yeah.
And then it was gone the next day. So people must have bought it. But I'll play that at some point. By all accounts, it is not very good on console.
I've heard it's not a good console version, but
it doesn't surprise me at all. But
I don't know. I paid $15 for AEW, so
that's true.
That was a hot ball of trash.
It's got to be better than that, right?
I don't know.
Different kind of game.
Yeah, different game.
So, how about you, Matt? What have you been playing?
I still am into Helldivers 2. I like all the small updates they're doing, and it seems like every week they're changing up stuff and adding small little Easter eggs into it, which it's really nice to have. Aside from that, I dove into Dave the Diver.
Okay,
I saw it. It was $14 on Steam. And I was like, you know what? Let me just give it a shot. When the DLC drops, if any other DLC drops, I'll buy it aside from it. But I've been addicted to playing that recently.
Okay.
I spend an entire day on that game, just doing random stuff. And it's cool. It reminds me a lot of Jaws on the NES.
Okay.
Except, it's a little bit more graphics than the Jaws.
Yeah.
Because essentially all you're doing every day is diving.
Okay.
What happens is this guy, Dave, is a diver, and he is essentially part of a sushi restaurant.
Okay.
So Dave, his job is now to dive for fish, and so you gather fish and you gather materials and stuff like that. And essentially you're helping the sushi restaurant kind of get started back up again. Something happened to this sushi chef, and he pretty much like quit his other job and just opened this small location on this island. So Dave is essentially just trying to help him kind of get it back up and running.
Okay, cool.
You hire staff. You can hire like other cooks.
Okay.
But the story for it is that you start diving for other things. Like right now, one of the side quests was a doctor, and he was like, I believe there are sea people in this ocean. And you're like, I don't really think so. And then like you just start stumbling across like mermaid type shit. So now like I'm helping the mermaid people of the ocean, like get their stuff clean, and like you're diving into like depths of the ocean, like the dark depths. So you're like, you have a headlamp at one point, you can only really see kind of like what's in front of you. The basis of it right now, like Big Boss seems to be like this giant fucking squid or octopus.
Okay, sure, of course.
And like he's just like terrorizing everything, so you're kind of like having to like deal with like little bits of him too. So all in all, it's fantastic. I can definitely say it's worth the money. Now that I've played it, I would pay whatever it was for it just to get it, because it is just it's chill. Like it's very chill. Every time you dive, you kind of find new fish to tackle on, and new weapons and upgrades and all that kind of stuff.
So on top of the diving, then there's like almost a restaurant sim in it.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay,
because
that sells me. So
you buy. Like when you each different fish you catch make a different dish. Your sushi chef essentially learns more dishes as they go along, and like there are people that come in to the sushi restaurant that like I guess essentially have talked shit about this chef in the past. So they're like, oh, whatever, you can't make me this dish. And it's like, so like you gather the materials and you make, and like each cutscene is like a short anime like scene. It's so funny they did it.
So
it's
is it the kind of thing where like they'll be like, I want you to make me this, and then you can go out and look for those specific materials, and then bring it back and do it? Okay.
Yeah, and then like at first it was interesting because I've been playing for a while now. And like I see like little shrimps, and they're like little crustaceans and stuff that like swim through the water. And at first I was like, can you catch those? And I haven't been able to, but now I just did a mission with this one little girl, and she was like, I really want some shrimp. Can you find me shrimp? And he's like, yeah, sure. So she hands him a net. So now there's a net in your so now you can like swing up and catch shrimp, and like it's become this whole thing right now. Like it is essentially probably I tell you what, Helldivers 2 and Dave the Diver have shocked me this year, because like I was not expecting them to be as good as they are.
I wishlisted it on my PlayStation, but
it's out soon on PlayStation.
I think it's on Premium. I think I saw that they added it to PlayStation Premium.
It's on the middle tier,
right?
Yeah.
Well, because it's extra. Extra's a middle tier.
Middle tier, yeah. Whatever the middle tier is, because there was 2 games they added for it. Was that, and there was another one.
Yeah,
that was like an indie game. But my premium ends out the 17th. So I'm back down to
lapse quite a while ago.
Yeah, and I'm back to essential or whatever the base tier is, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's all I need.
And at this point too, like I will happily buy Dave the Diver.
On
PS5.
I wishlisted it, so I'll wait for it to sale. But I'm gonna play.
So it really shook me, because I really wasn't expecting it. Like I definitely wasn't expecting the restaurant aspect, which has kind of just helped heighten the gameplay of it, because it kind of breaks up the things. But then so you essentially get to dive in the morning and the afternoon. And those are your 2 dives. Like you do that every day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. But you get 3 chances to dive at night. And when you dive at night, it's a lot harder than diving during the day.
It's all the weird shit.
Yeah, weird shits come out. And like almost essentially every bad fish is out at night. So like when you dive, you're like having to like rifle shoot down and spear shoot down all this other shit around you, because they're essentially coming to get you. And it's fantastic. I mean, I can't talk much more good things about that game right now. It's fantastic.
No, it's definitely it's on my radar. I have to look and see. I want to say it's the last week of April. It's out on PlayStation.
Okay.
I know this week, the 10th, which I think is Wednesday, is House Flipper 2 on console.
Yeah.
So, which is cool. But yeah, that wraps you up though.
That wraps me up. Yep.
All right. Well, we can kick over to news. Which there's been some news. I wouldn't say anything's like I wouldn't say it's like really on fire right now, but there've been some news. First one, important to note, I did try out this patch on PC. Not that it does much there, but Dragon's Dogma 2, this has been patched since I put this in here. It got a new start a new game option. And then the most important thing was they finally put in an option to lock the frame rate on console to 30 frames, which I'm sure at least improves certain aspects of that game. Again, not really a big thing on PC. So, I loaded it up and just ran around that city area and it's still the same. So on PC, but good for console players. Cause again, like that unlocked frame rate was not doing that game any favors.
Yeah.
So I will give them credit. They got that patch out really fast to do that. So, next item in here, this has been coming up a lot lately, which is, possibly Microsoft is prototyping a handheld device.
Yeah.
It makes sense if you think about it, the direction that they're going to have that kind of device that can download Game Pass games.
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about it, you're not going to be putting a disc in.
Wouldn't you think it would essentially just be a
ROG Ally?
a portal or like a ROG or a Steam?
Yeah.
But
that's what I think.
Even more like a portal, but it just has storage.
That's what I want it to be. Like, my hope for it is that it's not just a portal-like device, that it's more like a ROG Ally or a Steam Deck where you can download the game. As long as, obviously, you have an active subscription. And the other thing I think that is important is that it can download games from your library that you own.
It would have to be something where it would be, at the bare minimum, it's a portal that has Game Pass on it.
Yeah.
Right, and it's just like you could stream anything on Game Pass to this, no problem. Just with over an internet connection, you don't have to be connected to your Xbox. You don't have to be connected to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stream Game Pass games to it. The ideal scenario, like you said, is it does link to my Xbox. Maybe it does both. Like if you're not connected to your system, you can stream Game Pass stuff.
Yeah, or
you can connect to your Xbox and play your installed library. Like a portal works.
I can see that.
But I would also want it to have storage.
I do too.
But it would just have to be the kind of thing where like you could download the Game Pass game to it. Like let's say Halo's the game you're playing right now. And then it just does a quick check to make sure you're online to play it. And then it's done.
Okay.
I even if it's a portal-like device, I hope that I can connect without having to connect it to my console.
Yes.
That's the one thing it needs to not do.
It just needs an internet connection to stream Game Pass stuff.
Exactly.
Is all it really needs.
But I, as far as like the rumors, I totally think that it exists. I mean, Phil Spencer is even out there talking about, I'd like to have a handheld, trying to pave the way. I think
it is absolutely something that they have been working on for multiple years that might not ever come out. Like, that's the thing. Like they work on everything all the time. We've talked about it at least a year ago, where it's why not just make a flash drive I can plug into a TV, where I sync a controller to it, and then that over Wi-Fi. Or through your TV's internet connection, because TVs have internet connections now, just plays Game Pass stuff. Like, that is a thing that
they are working on.
Is got to be close to either we're going to release it or we're not going to release it.
We had was it like a year about this time, like a year ago? They had like leaked documentation on it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be bigger than a fucking Roku if it's just going to stream stuff.
Oh, not at all.
No, not at all. I thought this was funny. Some developers have come out now even questioning the purpose of a PS5 Pro, which I think is funny because it just highlights that it just doesn't seem necessary.
Who is it for?
We talked about it yesterday, like our friend in our group of friends who is the most prominent PlayStation player is not interested in a PS5 Pro.
Yes.
So the person I know that like literally is like, I'm going to platinum every fucking game that I play. I don't want a PS5 Pro. Like that is like when you got people at that level saying, no, it just seems like a pointless endeavor. Yeah, especially again, it all comes down to what the pricing of it is. But I think even if you were to come out and say, okay, it's $550, I still think there's a large enough group of people that are be like, I just bought this PS5 a year ago or whatever.
I just don't know what benefits am I going to see from it, because it's not like they're going to go back and.
I can't wait to see when they do announce it, which I think will be whenever they have a showcase in May or June or whatever. Yeah. That's when I think they'll announce it.
So stupid.
I just cannot wait to see the side-by-side comparisons.
Well,
hey, here's what it looks like on the PS5 Pro.
Remember when the PS4 Pro came out and they went back and they enhanced stuff for it?
Mm-hmm.
You think they're going to take time to do that now? Sony might do it for first-party stuff.
It won't be third-party stuff.
But third-party stuff, probably not.
Why are they going to care? Especially if we really are going to jump into this thing where, hey, it's only a PS5 Pro. There is no Xbox Pro.
Yeah.
Why would they, for third party stuff, why would those people care? You know? So I obviously Sony stuff will do
for it. Like, it just really doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
What if it comes with a free PSVR 2, but it's $700?
I tell you that you're like $500 short of what that would cost because it's a PSVR.
Well, they got to get rid of these things now, man. Nobody's buying them, and we're not making
stop production.
We're not making games up for it
because they're not selling. I can't. Did we see any of those at that convention? I don't think I saw any VR like PSVR 2. I don't think so.
I don't know if they would have a place there, but
not well.
They don't make games for it.
No. They do, but it's like so few and far between for the games that they make.
Yeah.
So you're not getting like, even remember when the original PSVR came out and like that first year, like they had people make. I mean, there was a fucking Rocksteady Batman game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that they tried to make for that. They're not even seem like they're doing that this time.
No, doesn't
at all. And maybe it's just me being oblivious because maybe there's a digital storefront that has a lot of digital only games. There could be. I don't pay attention because I don't have a PSVR 2, or am I interested?
I bet you there's definitely some games that have only been released digitally for sure.
But it just seems like they really kind of went hard into it that first year, the last time. And this time it's just like, here it is. Oh, it kind of fizzled in 6 months and we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So weird.
Garbage. That's why.
Just weird. We got our I guess annual or maybe biannual GameStop cuts jobs amid unsustainable sales decline article. This I think was originally IGN, and then you saw other sites copy this and and paste the article because that's the level we're at now.
Hey, you know, earnings calls came out, like leases are up, close it down. I've heard that they're starting to separate SL2 stores again. Back out to normal ones. Well, part of that tells me that they're going to start separating them out so that it's easier to close some of them.
For sure, especially rent wise.
They're going to try to untangle like poor performing stores and high performing stores so that they don't, averaged in the middle somewhere. This is just typical stuff.
Did they ever officially announce? I was trying to find this out the other day, like even looking through the GameStop Reddit, and I couldn't find a legitimate answer. But did they ever come out and officially say, "Hey, we're not doing a conference this year"?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Because I see some people that I saw some posts that were like, "Yeah, they said we're not doing it," and then other posts that say, "No, they haven't said anything yet." So
the conference isn't till September or like late August. Typically.
They got to plan that shit really ahead of time.
Well, they plan that shit a year in advance. We always knew the year before where we were going the next year. If they are having one, I can't tell you what it is, where it is, what the scope of it is, or if PlayStation and Xbox even fucking care. Like,
that's the other thing.
if Xbox is going all digital, what do they need GameStop for?
Exactly.
They don't.
They have their own
to sell accessories. They can sell their own accessories.
Yeah.
Best Buy can sell. Target, Walmart can sell their accessories.
Yeah.
They don't need a dedicated game store.
They literally have on their digital storefront, at least on the Xbox, a section that is just all hardware and controllers.
You can go in there and use the same credit card that's on your account. You
can now on that storefront sit and do one of those design like Xbox controllers from your couch.
That's a smart idea.
So, which again, I've always wanted to do it, but I'll never use that controller.
No,
so that's why I don't do it. It would be a display only.
Man.
No, the only other weird GameStop news was, did you see that they made a change to the influencer policy?
No.
Okay. Let's see if you've seen any of these. Matt, you probably have because you're a TikTok guy. There's these videos that these dumbass internet pranksters do where they'll take a fake game into a GameStop, but it has like the picture of the guy who's working on it. And it'll be like Glenn's Minecraft. And then they just fuck with the poor GameStop employee because they have nothing better to do. One of them, I didn't go too far into this hole because I don't want to rot my brain that much, but one of them like teamed up with Ryan Cohen to do one of these pranks.
Oh, really?
Chewy himself. And since he was, basically volunteered to be in this video, they released a new influencer policy where it's, you can play along if you want. You can be cool. If you want to buy something off them as a joke, use your own money. Don't use the store's money. So they're actively telling you to buy stuff off of people now with your own money if you want to, which has been against policy forever.
Yeah.
Which we did anyway, but it's been against policy forever.
Yeah.
And basically saying, treat them with, they're basically telling you to give them like preferential treatment because hopefully it's just more eyes on GameStop and it being cool.
For sure.
But if you don't want to be a part of it, just calmly ask them to leave. Yeah, that works. That works when these guys are in here fucking around during the middle of the day while you're trying to work. Just calmly asking them to leave. I'm sure they all are like, oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, sir. And they leave. No, that's not why they're there. They're there to be assholes on the internet. So it says like, don't say anything bad. Don't ban them. Don't threaten to call the cops. Don't do anything that you should normally do if people are being disruptive at your job.
At your store, yeah.
Fuck that. I would instantly tell them, don't film me. You cannot post this. Get out or I'll call the police. But that's not the policy anymore. I can't say that.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not.
You have to let them videotape you, even if you ask them to leave.
No, I haven't seen that, but I also don't. I don't fuck with TikToks.
No, it's come up on like YouTube Shorts and shit.
YouTube Shorts is like as far as I go with that stuff, but I've never
terrible.
No, none of that surprises me. Though.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of those clips. I think I saw one the other day where this guy went back into the GameStop where he was messing with the dude that was the employee. And he was like, I want to give you a gift. And the employee was like, just get out, man. Like, I don't want to deal with it. And then eventually it's like, dude, why would you just leave him be, man?
If you work there, your best bet is to not play along with these people. Because they're there to make you look like an idiot and like make themselves seem better after they tortured you for no reason. Like, don't play along.
Yeah.
I would ignore them. Don't even acknowledge they're there.
On the heels of that, Game Informer now offers standalone subscriptions for a year. It's the cost of $19.91
for 10 issues.
For 10 issues, not even a full year.
Is this the most backwards thing you've ever heard?
I can't imagine that we're still going to print magazines.
I thought they had stopped when they took it off of the card.
I would think I still think when GameStop is finally done, like that's the end of Game Informer, right?
I don't know how it would survive or what, because what would the purpose of it be?
At least
I mean,
people reading it anymore? You print, yeah. I don't know. It's very weird.
We talked about it when we worked there. Like, why not just dump the physical stuff, make the card $10, and you get digital Game Informer?
Yeah.
But for them to sell Game Informer separately after they took it away from being a part of the card, after they raised the price of the card, this all seems wildly backwards.
It does seem very, very backwards.
Because that's the reason you got a card subscription would be people wanting the magazine. Right?
It has to be.
I don't think I've read a Game Informer in years.
Right. Since you got one, since you had a card back when it was a value.
Yeah. It's interesting. Nintendo confirms testing layoffs. So like they laid off a bunch of testers amid first party lull and reports of the Nintendo Switch 2 delay. So which, again, what is a delay if they haven't announced the system yet? But I do think like internally, there's a very good chance that they did push releasing this into the spring.
Right.
And it does really feel like this weird, like obviously we'll get a Nintendo Direct probably, May, June. that'll be like, hey, here's what this fall is. But what do you think this fall is for that system?
Very little first party stuff.
It has to be
2 games and not major titles.
I mean, again, we've talked about like Metro Prime 4, if that still exists, is a Switch 2 game.
Yeah. You need to save stuff for Switch 2 because we talked about it before. The Switch launch was awful.
Yeah.
It was Zelda. And then you kind of
you want Zelda?
And you pushed 1-2 Switch on people, and
which should have been a free game.
Right, should have been the free game. And you pushed other stuff onto people that nobody really cared about because all anybody wanted was Zelda.
Yeah.
So
it was a Zelda box.
Yeah, your smart decision this year is hold first party titles back for that Switch 2 and release 2 of them. Here's Odyssey 2 and
Super Mario RPG 2.
Yeah, well, that you'd get a new Paper Mario before you ever got that. But well, I mean, a Wario game or it's just something else. Have 2 games at launch instead of 1.
I think that I think that it's going to be a very. I mean, the last fall we had was kind of a shallow fall, with the exception of like Super Mario RPG and Wonder.
Yeah,
but Wonder wasn't an Odyssey 2. Granted, great game. It just wasn't an Odyssey 2 level. But I really have to say, like, what is this one going to be? So it doesn't matter though for the Switch. Like, Switch is still going to sell just fine.
Yeah, nothing will stop it from selling, but you would, as a consumer, you would like to have more than 1 game.
Yeah.
And as long as it still plays Switch games, then it's not that big of a deal anyway.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you'd like to have a Mario game and a Kirby game. Even a Kirby game would be enough.
Something. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Something.
Yes.
More reports have come in about the possibility of a Grand Theft Auto 6 delay. I mean, I feel like this game will be delayed at this point. Like, there's been enough evidence mounting that they're probably going to delay it.
It's like 60-40 that it'll be delayed or not delayed.
Also, we've talked about in the past, every Grand Theft Auto has been delayed.
There's that.
Like,
there's also
3 was delayed for the 9/11 stuff. 4 was delayed by, I think, a couple weeks. 5 was even delayed. Quite a bit actually. I think 5
was delayed.
Originally was like a April release, and then it got pushed to September.
Yep.
The year it came out.
Well, the other thing is isn't it possible that the game does release on its release date, but it's not the full experience like 5?
I think even if it's delayed, it's the same.
No
thing.
Multiplayer. No, you know what I mean? They'll cut out stuff.
I think
they'll cut out more stuff to get it to hit the target. Whereas realistically, I think we should all just accept and just wait for it to all come out. Maybe they've learned from 5 that when 6 launches, the online won't be an absolute fire.
It was obviously it's completely different than what it is today, but it was unplayable for like 2 weeks.
At minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a disaster.
Couldn't log in. And if you did, you crashed. But
right to your Xbox dashboard.
It's more likely it gets delayed than not. And at this point, whatever. It just release it.
The game can come out when it comes out, and it will sell.
It's still going to be the best selling game of all time eventually.
At some point, it will be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Saber Interactive is fully split from Embracer, the CEO has come out and said that the KOTOR remake is alive and well. So, I think. There are people that claim to hope for that. I don't know. I'm not
Even if it is alive and well, does it have any chance to be good?
Depends on when we use the term remake, it depends on what it is.
It's a remake of an already really rough game.
Because I will say I believe they're the studio that worked on these re-releases that came out, and they were not great re-releases.
Right.
They also had promised to do like some new DLC for KOTOR 2, and that just got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it's a remake of a game that was already really rough when it launched. And with everything that's gone on with Embracer and all this stuff, it just seems like it probably wasn't anybody's real focus the whole time to make that game. So who knows?
Who knows? I thought this was cool. Night Dive Studio, which is becoming they're kind of slowly becoming like the cream of the crop for like the remasters that they bring forward. They did all the Turoks from the 64. They did most recently they did Dark Forces. They did Shadow Man. They've done a lot of stuff.
Ooh.
But they have picked a kind of crazy one to do for their next remaster, which is the originally came out in the 3DO, and then it came out, was ported to PlayStation 96, PO'd. You remember this game?
Yeah, I do.
Very weird game. Extremely bizarre that this is the next game they're going to do a full remaster. They did the Quake remasters as well. Like, they've done a ton of stuff. All of it has been tremendous in terms of like bringing these games forward to, modern consoles and PC. So like, they'll do a great job with this, but like, what a weird decision, like, of a game. I mean, I guess they're at the point where they can kind of pick whatever project they want. So I'm sure somebody at that studio has some massive love for this game, but like, It's just a really weird, decision. So it'll be called the PO'd, the Definitive Edition, be out later this year. So I just thought it was interesting, like not what you would have expected.
Not at all.
I put this in here for you, Dan. Atari has bought the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 publishing rights for $7 million.
This means nothing to me because Roller Coaster Tycoon hasn't been good in any form in 2 decades.
Yeah.
It's been.
You don't think they could do
mobile
a good
pay to win? It's been
okay.
Terrible Switch versions. It's been like there's that limited run just made that. Is publishing that one. Like I have zero faith. What I want from them is to not even remaster, just like the very first one. I never really liked 3 or any of that stuff because I hated how they changed the art style. I love the original art style of like the laid out grid and how the people look, and it's more pixelated and how everything looks. I prefer that. Make a new one that looks like that.
Okay.
Like theme park simulator games are very popular. I've played a lot of them on PlayStation. But Roller Coaster Tycoon is the original, which is now so far behind the updates. It's insane. It's like SimCity compared to City Skylines. You can't make a SimCity game anymore because somebody beat you to it and they made it better than anything you could make.
Okay.
Roller Coaster Tycoon it's so far behind. Nothing matters anymore. And why would you have any faith in Atari? What's Atari done lately that has proven to you that they know what they're doing?
Nothing. I don't have anything to say.
Did they try to make a crypto coin at some point? Like, no.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
That's what Atari's into. So
for sure.
This means nothing.
How much do you know about the Game Pass thing?
Which Game Pass?
I put this in here. So there was a developer that came out, I think 2 different developers that had come out and basically said like the gold rush is over for Game Pass.
Oh,
meaning what they mean by that is like the days of Microsoft, putting out millions and millions of dollars to buy something to put it on Game Pass for
to get something great. Yeah.
That's over. Yeah. And like, that doesn't like, and then obviously they got a lot of pushback on their comments. They had to come out and kind of clarify a little bit more. But I mean, the gist of it is like Game Pass isn't going anywhere.
No,
it's just the days of that. But you think about it, those were the early days, first 5 years of this service. They had to do that to entice people to come to that platform.
Game Pass has become something else.
Out.
It is now a first-party launcher for Xbox.
It is the platform.
It is Xbox.
It is the platform.
It's going to be all Activision games as well. Like that is what Game Pass is now. Yes, they had to buy. What was like the prominent one they did? They did Grand Theft Auto a couple times. Like that had to.
They've done GTA and Red Dead a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably
they tried to pull off the Final Fantasy thing, but they did it in such a bad way it meant nothing.
The problem with the Final Fantasy thing is they should have done either a confirmed like, okay, this month you're getting this month you're getting this, and so on until everything was
January
up,
7th,
or drop it all
February
at once.
8th. Yeah, they
didn't do that. They scattered them all out, and then it was like, okay, this one's leaving, but this other one's coming up, and weird orders that don't make sense. So they could have done much better with that. But I mean, again, like as far as kind of like Game Pass isn't going anywhere. The days of that, especially now when you own Activision and Blizzard, you own Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I don't think they need to be throwing that much money.
Now if anything, it's a Call of Duty launcher.
It is
with some Xbox games.
Exactly. Before we get into this next one, I have an email we'll read that ties right into it. Give me a second. I will pull it up here. This comes to us from Blake from Dayton, Ohio. Hey, 572 dudes. I was curious what your take is on frame rates for a video game and if it's ever affected a purchase for you. It seems like this generation is slipping back into the trap of 30 frames per second over 60 frames per second with these new releases. Starfield, Dragon's Dogma 2, and now the confirmation that Hellblade 2 will only be 30 frames per second on console. Are these developers just getting more lazy? Have they not heard that gamers like options to choose from? Personally, I'll pick 60 frames over visual quality every single time. I was so incredibly hyped for Dragon's Dogma 2, and then hearing about the frame rate issues made me pass on it, at least for now. Starfield was another game I passed on because of its 30 frame per second lock. I just feel like we've outgrown this as an industry, and I don't want to see us go back. So yes, and that leads right into the news article, which they did come out. It's actually funny because I saw somebody post on the Xbox subreddit the night before, like, boy, do you think Hellblade 2 is going to get delayed? Because nobody's talked about it for like months. And then the very next day, hey, here's like 8 previews of this game. But yeah, it came out that Hellblade 2 on Series X and S is only going to be 30 frames. It makes perfect sense to me because that's what that studio's gone for with the first one. So why would they change it for the second one? I understand it's upsetting, but also, like, as someone who's not a huge fan of the original game, it is more like a walking simulator with a little bit of combat. It's not like a full, and maybe this will change in Hellblade 2. I don't know. I haven't played it, but it's not like you can't look at that game and go, oh, it's like God of War or something where there's a lot of combat. There's not a lot of combat. It's more about the story. And there is a lot of walking in the game. So, I'm going to try it now that I have a 4070. I'm going to try and play it on PC because I will play it. But again, even with that being said, I'm not a huge Hellblade fan. As far as the 30 frames argument for me, my argument has always been, I just want the frame rate to be locked. That's all I care about.
I prefer that over anything else.
I can't do the wild. It just makes me go nuts. I've had games where I've gotten sick from that. State of Decay. I almost said State of Emergency. State of Decay 2. Disastrous launch when that game came out, where they had it between a terrible motion blur and an uncapped frame rate was unplayable.
Yeah.
Obviously today, like, very well, like, great game. But at that time,
I agree, because I'd much rather have something like locked at 30 than have the potential for it to go down to 20. Or 15,
which happens a lot in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Which happens a lot in some games.
Yeah.
I think the problem with a lot of this is a lot of it's game specific. Final Fantasy, I'm playing it on graphics mode, and I have zero problem with it at all. I can't even tell you, because it never slows down. I never run into a problem like that. I get some weird pop in on stuff if I don't play it on graphics. Where doors look weird and then they pop in or something.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I did test it a little bit once I was further into the game, just to kind of see if I could turn it off. I'd rather play with graphics.
Have you tried it with the patch?
I haven't tried it since then. And now that I'm in like the end game and I can go around and do whatever, maybe I'll change it back just to see what it does.
Because I played it pretty much exclusively at 60, which has been fine for me. But I will say the patch, like, sharpening it, made it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
I definitely noticed that part too. But I think another maybe problem with this Hellblade game and other games, it's on Xbox Series S.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
I think that's the bigger thing a lot of people have to look at too, is I think the biggest problem in the industry when it comes to that stuff is the fact that the Series S exists.
Or these are PS5 and PS4 games.
Yeah.
They're not different games. They're not making a PS4 version and a PS5 version.
Remember, the technically speaking, the 1X, if you were to have an SSD in that, the 1X would be a more powerful console than the Series S.
Yeah.
That is the trade-off, is the storage speed. So, but it, like I said, it's just, for me, it depends. Like, lock your frame rate and I'm okay with it. Has it affected me? Like, no. I played Starfield at 30. It was fine. So I just really like Starfield, but some people didn't. I did. So, but yeah, for me personally, it's not really affected me as far as like purchasing a game or anything like that. But I will say, like, when I have access to a PC that I know I can run the game at 60 and run a little bit better, sometimes I might choose that option instead.
Yeah.
But is to each their own. but I've never let it really hinder me purchasing a game.
I think we're a console generation away from finally getting it to be industry standard that it's locked at 60 and potential for more.
That would make sense. I know you like when canceled games get resurfaced.
Love it.
This was interesting.
I love canceled video games in general. I think that
it's always fun.
Yeah,
it's always fun and fascinating. So, gameplay this last week from the canceled Nolan vs. Batman game came out. This would have been what they were making before it turned into Shadow of Mordor. So, as we kind of always thought, like, maybe they made that Nemesis system for a Batman game. That is the truth here.
For multiple games, yes.
For multiple games. So, it's cool. It's really weird to see an Arkham-style game, but it's Christian Bale Batman. That's the weird part, because it's literally his suit, like the Christian Bale Batman suit. So, but it's another neat thing to see when these things resurface, like, you know, what that looks like.
There's still time for them to go back and make a Batman game with a Nemesis system.
There is.
Like, we're done. We're clearly done with.
I don't think it would be Rocksteady, but
no. It would be somebody else.
WB Montreal, probably.
But maybe it's time for somebody else to do it.
I think so.
You know, Rocksteady had their chance with Suicide Squad.
Oh,
let them be done with it and move on to something else.
I don't think I even put in stuff because the three of us don't care about Suicide Squad, but I didn't put any of the stuff of the like season 1 stuff with Joker and everything. I hear it's a disaster.
I don't care until it's $20 for digital deluxe,
and then we'll look at it
and then I'll
go,
play
it is as bad as they say. A bunch of stuff has potentially leaked for Xbox's showcase in June, including Gear 6 finally. Seems like they will finally talk about that, which I'd like to point out. I believe this leak more because they're saying it is Gear 6 and not that stupid collection that I don't think exists. That's just everybody's break glass for, I don't have anything else to comment on.
Sure.
So I think we're making that game.
I still wish we would get a collection. I would. And maybe,
I'm not against it.
Maybe now that there's Gear 6 and like Gear 6 will finish the story. Maybe we then get Gears 1 through 3 as a collection and Gears 4, 5, 6 as something like that.
That'd be good.
But the thing is collections for these things don't even matter that much when it's just all on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it all already exists.
So right now it sounds like the big games for this thing will be Gears 6, more Indiana Jones, Avowed. Mm-hmm. The new version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and whatever the new Call of Duty is, which is rumored to be Black Ops Gulf War.
Oh, that's funny.
Been rumored for a while.
I didn't even think about that now Call of Duty will be an Xbox showcase and not a PlayStation thing.
That won't be a PlayStation showcase.
Wow. Because remember, that was always the one they held over them was you'll get to see the Call of Duty thing at the end of the PlayStation thing with, what special DLC we have. But that's weird. I didn't think about that. No, they didn't say anything about Fable being in there?
Fable's in there too.
Okay, good. I was going to say, because if it's not, then...
Fable was the other one that we'll talk about Fable.
Starting to worry about Fable at that point if we're...
Hey, they didn't mention Perfect Dark.
Weird.
Like, they're not going to.
They're...
Like, no, I fully believe it's
What is more likely? They come out and confirm that Perfect Dark is dead, or they never talk about it again?
They never talk about it again.
They never talk about it again.
Only thing
you'll get that team has been reassigned.
I think what you're more likely to hear, which would just confirm that the game is dead, is that the initiative is not a thing anymore. They disbanded and put those people in different places.
We've reassigned these people.
Which would just tell you Perfect Dark is dead.
Yes.
So
it already is. But
it is. I think it has been for over a year at this point.
It's got to be.
I put this in here. So Dragon Quest 12 is still MIA. It was announced back in 2021.
It's been a long time.
Apparently, the longtime series producer apparently has left the company. He's been there since '92, so he won't be. I mean, I'm sure he had some hand in Dragon Quest 12, but
12. The important thing is the guy who helped produce 11 is in charge of 12.
Yeah,
so it's not like 12 is dead. It's just I don't think they're going to announce much about it until it's a lot closer.
Yeah, which it's like. They can take their time.
Yeah,
I don't. It's not like even Final Fantasy they take their time, but it's not like something you need to have an annual Dragon Quest game or anything like that.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy gave that up a long time ago too, where they stretch it out as far as it needs to be.
So, Final news article I have, I thought this was really interesting. This is the most recent thing. Xbox has now established a new team internally for game preservation and forward compatibility. So that leads me to believe that maybe something like back compatibility will come back, like in maybe a new form, and if they do that, I'll say like I don't think you're going to see new original Xbox games.
No,
come. I think maybe there'd be a few more 360, but I think this is more establishing for like the future, like going forward. We want to make sure all these Series X games work on the next thing, or the Xbox One. Like pretty much every Xbox One game works on a Series X. So I think it's more about establishing that. And obviously, we've known for a long time one of the biggest things for Phil Spencer is game preservation. He's huge on that.
Yeah.
He talks about it all the time, like every interview. And that's a big thing for them over at Xbox that I really wish would be a big thing for them over at Sony. Because again, as I've always said, if you came out tomorrow and you said, you know what, here's a PS5 Pro, but guess what? It plays every PlayStation generation. I'd pay $700 for that.
I'd buy that.
Have something to play.
That's the one thing I'd be like, okay.
That can easily play PS3 games. Yeah. PS2 games. Yeah.
All of it.
There's a lot more.
That would sell me.
The problem with that is like
there's a lot more.
So much more complicated than it even sounds because those are all different kinds of discs. Those all have different kinds of technology. It's realistically, if that happened, you'd be emulating all of that stuff, and somehow the disc would.
Emulation gets into then the copyright stuff
on the cloud, and there's that's such a mess that I know Sony would just be like, we just don't care. Xbox at least we worked really hard to let you play Xbox games on 360. We worked really hard for all of this other stuff to come
most
forward.
People care about.
The stuff you cared about, or stuff that worked by association, like engines and stuff like that. I mean, I would kill for a PlayStation to be able to do that. It just seems so unlikely.
I don't see it. Okay, let me ask this. Do you think when we get to a PS6, does it play PS4 games?
You'll be lucky if it has a disc drive in it. Why would it play PS4 games?
Yeah, true. Well, do you think? Yeah, true. That's another thing.
That's another main reason why they would almost never consider it.
But would it play those games digitally?
You would have to hope, because a PS4 and a PS5 are still so intertwined in like the same system. That would mean that a 6 and a 5 are not anywhere close to each other. Which the last time they did that, they made the PS3 and they fucked it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like there's
PS3 it's the cell process.
Yeah, they made that conscious decision to say fuck everything before this.
Fuck that system
unless you pay $600 for the model that has a PS2 inside of it.
That's why. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's why Metal Gear 4 is locked to the PS3. I mean, maybe finally
it should be unlocked soon. It all seems like, but
hopefully.
Well, and it's got to be at some point. But yeah, that's why the PS3, like some games are just stuck there forever.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Now we'll go ahead. We'll kick over. I don't know if any of you watched any movies in the last, because I actually have some stuff.
I've only been playing Rebirth and doing nothing.
Nothing on my side.
Yeah.
So first, I watched Imaginary, which is the Blumhouse movie. Came out a couple weeks ago with the teddy bear.
I will say I read the spoiler. The whole thing.
Garbage.
It sounds bad.
It's hot garbage. The end of that movie, like, I told Max, I was excited it was getting put up. I'm like, I'll watch it tonight, whatever. And I threw it on while I was doing stuff on my computer here. So I was in the background, but I paid attention, obviously. It's so fucking bad. The thing that bothered me the most about the movie is like this story, the premise of this movie is that it's an imaginary friend from the main woman from her childhood. And then what happens in the movie is that they move back to her childhood house with their kid, which the kid's like she's the new mom in the relationship. So she's not the birth mother.
Right.
But the whole point of it is this imaginary friend is the same imaginary friend that she had when she was a kid. The part of it, I mean, I lost it at a bunch of stuff in this movie, but the part that broke me the most was they introduced the neighbor lady who's like this old lady that used to babysit the mother when she was a kid.
Okay.
And the part that broke me, the worst part of the movie, is when the little girl finally disappears into the imaginary world. The grandmother, she's a grandmother now, but the babysitter lady, she comes over and she's like, hey, come over to my house really quick. I got to show you something. And the mother goes over there and she just goes on. She's like, yeah, when this happened to you when you were a child, I just devoted my life to figuring out everything about this imaginary world. And I just threw up my hands like, this is so fucking stupid.
That's wild.
That this woman had one instance in her life of like, hey, maybe there's an imaginary world. And she spent her entire fucking life. Like, she's got whiteboards and chalkboards and shit with all this stuff written out. She's got papers everything. She literally lives in like this library she's created of all this stuff. And I'm just saying, like, this is so fucking implausible that this woman would have done this. And then the best part is she ends up like they do whatever ritual they need to do to get into the imaginary world, which just looks like Beetlejuice world. That's what it looks like. It literally looks like the world Beetlejuice lives in, like with the black and white, like polka dot stuff. Like that's what it looks like when they go into this portal. So it already looks comical to begin with. But then when they get in there, that woman becomes bad because she shuts like their doorway to get out and tries to trap them in there. And she's like, we're going to live in the imaginary world now because she wants to study it.
Wow.
It's fucking terrible.
Horrible.
And the other thing I did not like about the movie, and Dan will agree on me with this, is the imaginary friend, which takes the form of this teddy bear. The real thing is like a spider person.
Nope, thank you.
No thanks. That's how that movie starts. And when that got me, I was like, okay, that's a good scare that I don't like. Maybe this will be okay. No. The movie's, it's trash. So I wouldn't say it's a rare Blumhouse misfire because they have misfires, but it's a misfire. It's not good. I don't see it getting a sequel. So, then the stars aligned the other night. It was like 7:30. We had finished dinner. I looked at my girlfriend. I'm like, it's 7:30. How about we watch John Wick 4? We got the time. I know it's 3 hours. I've wanted to see it for a year.
I haven't watched it yet either.
We were supposed to originally go see it when it came out in theaters, and then that was when we both got COVID, so we didn't get a chance. I literally, at some point, bought all these movies on 4K DVD, and I've never watched it. So
yeah,
we sat and watched John Wick 4. John Wick 4 is amazing.
It's fantastic.
I'm sure it is.
It's probably my favorite of them because they go so hard into the stunts. Donnie Yen plays a blind dude. I didn't know that going into this movie. He's so good and convincing at playing a blind dude that can fight. It's ridiculous. There is a scene when he first starts fighting, and I didn't know what he was doing at first. He starts slapping these little devices on a wall, and I was like, oh, are these C4 or something? No, you know what they are because he's blind? They're little doorbell detectors. So when these dudes run in the room, the little doorbell goes off, and then he hits that person, like, it's ridiculous.
It's fantastic.
Every fight is amazing in this movie. There's a whole gunfight that takes place in a car, like in a car chase. Yeah, with, John Wick has the doors of these cars ripped off. He's literally scooping guns up as he goes off of the road and just shooting them through the window. Like, it's insane.
It's such a good movie.
There's the stairway, like the stairway to hell, which he like climbs up this absurd stairway at the end and it gets knocked all the way down and it has to go back up at a second time. So, and I will also say, like, it ends in a way where, like, it could be definitively the end of John Wick, and that's fine. Or they could go the other direction where, like, maybe it's not, and that's also fine. So, like, if you were to come and tell me, hey, this is the last John Wick movie, I would be fine with it because there's so much in it. And I'll also say, like, for a movie that is 3 hours, it does not feel like 3 hours.
That's good.
It is constantly going. It lets these action sequences take time to breathe. So, and they're all spectacular. So I cannot recommend that enough. It's the best one of all of them. And the stakes are really high too. So,
yeah.
And then I'll throw this out as a story. I was at my girlfriend's parents' house over the weekend and she had some family visiting and her cousins decided, because I guess her dad has never seen the movie Step Brothers.
Oh boy.
And yes, 2008 Step Brothers. And when they said, they're like, we're going to watch Step Brothers. And I thought to myself, are you talking about the Will Ferrell movie? Yeah. It's the first time I've seen that in 15 years, whenever it came out. It mostly holds up. Like the parts of it I remember are still funny. Like Adam Scott is the dickhole brother.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Obviously, everybody remembers the bunk bed thing. That's, fantastic. But I'd say it mostly holds up. But it was a random thing I have not seen in 15 years. And just another reminder of like that era of comedies that they will not make anymore.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
It's dead.
For some certain reasons, but still holds up. Still very, very funny. But that covers what I've watched. So, really bad one and then a really good one. But I implore people, don't watch it. Don't watch Imaginary.
I forgot to say that I did watch Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Okay,
I
that's
watched
right.
it after we recorded the last time. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything about it. I will say that the middle of it was really super slow.
Okay.
However, I understood because they had to kind of give you like more of the backstory of this new villain and how it kind of goes. But I liked it. I still enjoyed it.
But you probably agree, like they spent so much time building up villain up, and then they rushed him at the end.
I do.
Get to the point.
I'm right there with you too, because I was like, I kind of was looking like if they would have drawn that out a little bit more, the ending of it, I think it would have been better for me. But because it was like they spent so much time on developing his character, and they just kind of axed him pretty quick. I mean, I understand why.
He's the worst thing that's ever happened, ever, and he's gone in 15 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it would have been better for them to put a little more into the end of it than they did. However, I still enjoyed it. Like I loved everything about it. I loved the having everybody back and just kind of seeing everything. It was a solid watch for me. I definitely would rewatch it again.
I learned this today that in Japan it is called Frozen Summer.
Oh,
not Frozen Empire.
Interesting.
I only know that because Hideo Kojima posted like an Instagram, because he always posts like when he goes to see movies, and he posted like the picture of the poster, and it's literally Frozen Summer.
I guess that kind of makes a little bit more sense, because now that I'm trying to think about it, like what was the Empire?
Yeah, I guess that guy was going to raise an empire with the dead, probably, but
I guess.
Yeah,
I mean that's essentially what they were saying, is that whenever he came out, he was supposed to.
I mean, you've also seen like, and I think you would agree too. Like, this movie should have been held until the summer to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters.
It's
a summer movie.
Then
I don't know why they put this out a week before Godzilla Con, which destroyed it. Whether or not Godzilla Con is a good movie or not, I have not seen it yet.
I've heard some positive things on it.
I've heard positive things and negative things. So
I do kind of want to watch it, but I will wait.
I would like to see it, sadly. I will devote some time to that. My girlfriend said she is out on it. She can't do it anymore for those, but she will watch -1. So
okay,
which is a great movie. So but yeah, that pretty much wraps up, I guess, the movies that we watched. You didn't have anything else?
No, I got nothing
pretty
else.
busy. So, the next we'll get into the emails here that we got. First one we have returning from the last time that we recorded. We had asked Adam to write back after the Dragon's Dogma 2 launch. So Adam from Redacted, hey guys, thanks for taking my email last time. As far as the Dragon's Dogma 2 launch went, we did get some more copies day of, but it still wasn't enough to fulfill reserves. We ended up getting a total of 35 copies, so we were shorted 15. I played it as straight as you can, and yes, some people were pissed off, and we lost a customer or two over it. One guy canceled his extensive pre-order list, which probably cost us somewhere near $1,000 if he would have picked up all his stuff this year. But I've realized it's not my fault personally. This is the company that fucked him over. I also want to let you guys know that between the last email I sent and this one, I had an interview and was accepted and I'm pleased to work, so I put in my 2 weeks. There will be no more of this bullshit for me. Thank you again, guys, for what you do. So we're happy to hear that.
Get it. He's out. He doesn't have to
Another
deal
one
with
has been saved.
them not getting like it's like I suspected where they were going to get some more, because that would happen quite a bit. But to still not get enough when you are really the last video game retailer left, because Target doesn't count, Walmart doesn't count, even Best Buy barely counts now. Like, come on. This can't be a thing. Yeah. But the fact that it continues to be a thing and they continue to let it be a thing 8 years after we left means that it's a decision they make to play this game, and hope that X amount of people aren't going to pick it up because statistically they don't. Like, you lost all that one guy's pre-orders. That's one of the customers you
Especially,
have left.
It sounds like it was a regular.
But that's like one of the few customers you have left that you should be trying to retain. That's who you messed up. Like, it's crazy to me. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Imagine what a GTA 6 launch is going to be like at the stores.
I would think that's the one game that they would
You would hope.
Over-purchase.
You would hope. I mean, it shouldn't happen anymore.
Here's the bigger question. Is GameStop still around when that game finally releases?
It'll still be there.
You think it is?
We've played this game long enough, especially you and I, where it's like, they've got 2 more. Now, this thing is just going to hang on.
It's going to be a slow death.
I think it's the opposite. I think what's going to happen is one day it's just going to be over. I think your boy Chewie's going to be like, I'm out. And he's not going to leave a plan in place for what happens next. And it's all just going to like implode, and they're going to come in and realize everything he did was not sustainable. It was used to pump his value. Yeah. And we're fucked.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely that it's next month GameStop's going to cease operations.
Yeah.
Or they're going to sell, or they'll finally find some sucker to buy them. But the sucker buys them for the name to use on a website or something like that.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, it's just, this can't keep happening. Why is this still happening? They have no copies for walk-ins. And because remember, even when we were there, the rule was if somebody walks in to buy it, sell it to them, even if you don't even have enough to cover reserves. Don't turn anyone away. That is the literal exact opposite of what a pre-order program is meant to convey.
Yeah.
You're telling me every day, what are you interested in? You could pre-order it, but it doesn't mean you'll even get it.
Well, I mean, I will say that was the message for a while, and then they turned it into the web and store thing. Well, you're never out of
right,
but
you were, because no stores had enough copies to cover things.
Or you go on web and store, and web and store was out of it.
Yes.
So it just didn't work that way.
Well, I mean, it's a bummer that he had to even put up with that, but now that he's gone, he doesn't have to think about it anymore. That's great.
For sure. Next email we have comes from Derek from Bristol, Wisconsin. Howdy, gents. I don't know if you guys follow YouTuber Pete Dorr, but he put up a video the other day about Xbox 360 games are rapidly rising in price on the collector's market. It seems like maybe the days of getting all those games super cheap has finally ended. With that being said, do any of you guys have anything in your 360 collection that hit a massive spike? So I looked a little bit at this. I skimmed through that guy's video. I do follow people.
I used to watch him a lot more in the past. I haven't.
Really did in the past until he kind of was like, I'm done doing YouTube. I'm going to Twitch stream for a while, which I mean, is fine. That's what that guy can do. He has a massive collection. And at that point, if you're collecting to play those games, go do that.
For sure.
Right.
That's part of what it should be anyways. But he's kind of since tried to return to YouTube and start making some videos. So, but he did put this on up the other day. So I did take a look at it. I'll say, like, from just coming off of MGC, after watching this, I had seen this guy's video. I was like, well, we'll see how it is. It is and it isn't. Like, there are definitely things that have risen in price, but it's the things that you would expect, like Armored Core, for example.
Right.
Hey, guess what happened last year? A new Armored Core game came out. Yeah. What does that mean? It's been a while since an Armored Core came out, so all of them are going to rise in price.
And it's from software, so that's
it's from software.
Paid from software tax.
But like other games, I think our other buddy that was at the thing, he found a copy of Born Conspiracy for $8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a great deal for a 360 game. Pretty much, I don't think I spent. Just looking at the 360 games I got, I don't think I spent. The highest I spent was $25 for Lightning Returns.
Right.
Just because that is the lowest printed of those 3 games.
Yeah,
so,
I'm kind of like skimming through my list, and really nothing on my list outside of like weird
Halo, legendary edition.
Yeah, have really gone up in price. I still think we're still in a good place in terms of 360 games not being expensive. I think it'll take a little while longer for us to get there. For me,
it's more about finding the games than it is about the price.
That's true.
Or, you remember when we were still at GameStop, I went down that path of trying to find all those weird shoot 'em up games.
Yeah,
which I did get all of them.
For them and
those have gone up. Those have gone up because at that time nobody was looking for those. Those were like $6 to $10 games. Those are all relatively like in the $30 to $40 range now.
And we would buy
which makes sense.
We'd buy the weird stuff that would come in like Cold Step Saga. And all that
Cold Step Saga is one of the few games that has jumped. That's about $100 game now.
Yeah, that's a weird one that I did buy at the time just because I was like, you know what? I bet you're not going to see this.
Yeah. So, and that's one I think I got in 2019 at that MGC for 30.
Right.
And that, that's gone up. So, but yeah, as far as 360 stuff, I think you're still in a good spot. That a lot of it is not really that.
I think you're right. And it is
crazy.
More about, can you find it?
Hard to find stuff.
There was a lot of 360 stuff there for sure, but it was all the stuff you don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or stuff that you already have.
Stuff that like no one is looking for.
Yeah. Nobody's looking for a copy of Skylanders.
God, I saw a lot of those.
I couldn't say how many copies of Rock Band 1, 2, or 3 I saw. Well, probably 1 or 2.
General.
Yeah. Guitar Heroes, I actually did see people walking around buying instruments, which I thought was interesting.
Well, there's always going to be a market for instruments. For sure.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Especially now.
The game discs themselves are all but worthless.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say it's still a good time. I mean, I would say it's still a good time for original Xbox as well. Like, everything that I found, I mean, those games were pretty much under 20. So, I think it's still a good time for those. I think where it's still outrageous is anything cartridge. I think for the most part, especially like you and I saw that. I saw this time more than I think past conventions, more stuff that was boxed.
A lot more
than ever.
Yeah.
Like just insane amounts of
where
NES
keeping all
and
this
Super
stuff?
Nintendo. Yeah. Like where was all this 5 years ago? Like all of a sudden this is all out. Everybody's got their, little plastic covers over them and everything. But for whatever reason this year, I saw more box stuff than I've ever seen at a convention. So
yeah, it was kind of weird.
But I think it's more about the supply of it. And like we talked about Dreamcast, like that's drying up.
Yeah, there was not very much. And
I am going to be on the hunt for sure.
I'm lucky to the point where I have most of the Dreamcast stuff I care about. But
I want Blue Stinger.
That's a good one.
And nobody had that.
No, I'm lucky enough that like I got Cannon Spike very cheap. I've had MVC2 forever. I'm lucky that I've got that stuff knocked out. But yeah, all the stuff they had left was all either really common stuff, like all the sports stuff nobody cares about, or Cannon Spike for $325 because no one's going to pay $325 for Cannon Spike.
Yeah, I just agreed. 100% agree. Next email we have comes from Ryan from Jacksonville, Florida. Hey guys, Grand Theft Auto 6 really sure seems like it's going to be delayed, maybe possibly even out of next year into 2026. Do you think that if this happens, it makes the idea of PS5 Pros even more ridiculous? Will it get them to delay the Pro? I really just can't see that we've hit such a huge gap for games this generation when it feels like we've barely even started getting new games that are only on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. What are your thoughts? I mean, we've talked about it extensively the last 3-4 episodes, but I don't know anybody that's excited about the idea of a PS5 Pro.
Well, they've already kind of said that. It doesn't even look like GTA 6 might run properly on one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then what am I buying it for?
Yeah. And then to add to that, when you have developers now that are commenting, we don't see the reason for this thing to exist either.
Right. Because
that is my biggest argument against it is the biggest problem we've had this generation. I talk about it all the time with my buddy Ross, but this generation has kind of been a wash, sadly, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah. One, I think it started too soon. I think we should have waited another year. We shouldn't have launched in the middle of the pandemic because what were the big games you played at launch? You had Miles Morales, you had the Demon's Souls remake. Xbox didn't have anything that was original for it. It was all stuff you could play on an Xbox One. So I think we should have waited a year to launch these systems to begin with. But the other thing is I think we needed to have a cutoff at some point because we're still at the point where a lot of these games, even though they're bad ports, are on PS4.
Yes.
Resident Evil 4 is on PS4. It's a terrible version of that game. God of War Ragnarok is on PS4. Not a great version of that game, but you can do it.
They're so afraid to move on even 4 years later.
This didn't even happen in the last generation.
Right.
That it took this long. Usually it's like you get a year and then boom, you need to get this new system or build a PC.
Yeah.
If you want to play new games.
I can't see it being delayed. Like I think if their mind is made up that it's going to come out in October, because we don't have any first party stuff, so why not just release our Pro system to get the sales this holiday? I don't think that will affect it. You'll get people who will buy it just to buy it. You'll get people who will buy it because they don't realize that it's really not going to improve stuff that already exists. It's really meant more for stuff that's coming out. I can't see a scenario where I buy one. It would have to be. I don't even know. GTA 6 ain't coming out when it's coming out. It's just not. So what incentive could you possibly have?
I'll shoot my GTA prediction. I think it's because they've said it's a spring 2025 game. I think it's fall 2025 is what I think. I think you'll get your 6-month delay. They won't say it's a 6-month delay when they delay it. They'll just say it will be out later in 2025.
It's more than a year away for sure.
Yeah, I think it's more than a year away, and a lot of it has to do. We saw recently, like the big thing with it is the people at Rockstar have been working at home this entire time, and now they're having to return to office to try and finish this game to make it on time. If you're saying that now, there's no way that game's coming out in spring 2025. If you have
I feel like we would have to see a substantial amount of it by substantial. I mean like somebody playing it for 15 minutes and showing you like these are the new mechanics we've added to the game. And like, this is what it looks like by like October. If you don't see anything by like October, November,
maybe Game Awards.
If you don't see anything like Game Awards time, it's not done within the next 6 months of that. That's just, it seems unreasonable for a game of that scope. Think about how much is in GTA 5 and then triple it. Quadruple
I was gonna say triple, quadruple.
It's going to be that much more. And if you think GTA 5 existed for a long time, 6 is going to be meant to last even longer than that.
For sure.
So
it's, I don't know.
Because they'll get it out on PS5 and then they'll sell you the PS6 version and all that. They'll do what they can. Exactly. But I just don't see it coming out in a year.
I don't either.
Unless they surprise us and give us 25 minutes of running around and showing you new stuff.
I'll put it this way. I don't see us getting to E3 time this year and seeing it on either of these stages.
No,
PlayStation, Xbox. I don't think you're going to hear about it for a while. And that was the whole design and the point of that trailer was, hey, here it is. You guys now know it's officially real.
Here's a lot. Yeah.
We all have for years. Like,
here's a pretty big a chunk of it so you can see what the theme is and what we're going for.
You can see here's the theme. Here's the character that you're going to play as. This is the setting of it.
It was meant to get hype, and it did.
It did. Oh, it did. But it broke all sorts of records.
Yeah, it still does.
It still is. So, yeah, I don't. But as far as the PS5 Pro, I don't. It will sell. There is a market for people that are diehard that will have to get everything day one.
I just don't know if it'll fly off the shelves.
That's the thing. I don't know. I'd be very curious to see.
PSVR too.
Yeah, there you go. Next email we have comes from Leslie from Topeka, Kansas. Hey guys, love the show. A while ago on the podcast, you guys went through scary real life things that have happened to you, possibly paranormal and whatnot. Besides scary movies, do any of you watch any scary YouTube channels or paranormal investigation channels? There's quite a lot of stuff out there on YouTube, and some of it is really fascinating and downright scary.
Yes.
I was going to say, I'm sure
terrifies me way more than anything else I've ever seen.
Any horror movie, yeah. I was going to say, like, you and I are constantly sharing, like, this or that. As far as, like, actual channels, that Nuke's Top 5, you and I have talked about that one a lot. That's one of my favorites. There's one that I like to watch that's, like, chilling scares or chilling tales, something like that. That's the one where I see all the dash door, the Ring doorbell videos of like just fucking crazy shit happening.
Wow.
Those are more terrifying than the horror movies we get. Like, not that I don't enjoy horror movies, but very few of them are, I find incredibly scary, but this stuff, insane. I will say I used to watch the one channel, the Paranormal Files, but I bounced off of it because I got tired of that guy. Literally, the title of every fucking video was scariest video on YouTube. This is even scarier. This, like, and when you title every weekly video the same fucking thing, I'm over it.
You got nothing.
Like, you got nothing. I did recently go back and watch because he did like a 2.5 hour documentary on that fucked up park in Baltimore, Leakin Park, which I've talked about before, where they like the mob was dumping all their bodies, and like that shit is terrifying. Like that park, there is some fucked up thing that in that park that is just wild. But yeah, the YouTube stuff is crazy, and you can find also. I also love watching like the urban exploration people when they bump into like homeless people or like. That stuff is terrifying. The one that I sent you where the guy turned around the corner and that dude was just hunched over in the corner. Like, what's this dude doing?
I watched that kind of stuff where like they explore like abandoned places or malls, or when they went through our GameStop and that dude was in the
and I sent it to you, which is now gone because it's all bulldozed down.
I watched that kind of stuff, and that mainly for like, not for like a spooky reason, but like the vibes. Like
the vibe of it can be relaxing.
To go to like an abandoned water park in China that's like literally sinking into the ground, and then they go into the hotel where there's clearly people that are just living in there, and it's just kind of all like got like a creepy vibe, especially when they're like, "We need to get the hell out of here." Because like somebody lives here.
Yeah, there are some good ones, but I enjoy those.
I think that was called like the Proper People or something. Have you seen that?
Yes, that's a great channel.
That's a great channel.
I watched that one.
They go to some really cool places like abandoned power plant where the power's still on. That's creepy as hell.
Yeah,
because who knows what's in there.
Well, over at my girlfriend's parents' house weekend, I was showing them the Chilling Scares one because they do a lot of top fives. But there's one where there's an investigation where they're just this couple out in like England or whatever. They're just investigating this decrepit house and find this old woman who still lives in the fucking house in her bed.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They walk into the room and it's just like all of a sudden this woman just wakes up like, hello. And it's just like, what is happening? And they go through this whole thing about figuring out like how this woman's lived there for 30 years in this condition. And that's how she likes to live.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So crazy shit.
You and I talk a lot about like, we like unsolved mysteries and all that kind of stuff. And
yes. Can't get enough of it.
I do call them solved mysteries because most of them are pretty. Who killed my husband?
I went back.
That guy did it.
Yeah. I went back.
Everyone knows he did it. Like he did it.
If you want to watch the original Unsolved Mysteries, which is the best.
Yes. Those are better.
If you go on Amazon, or you can watch them for free on YouTube now because they have the whole channel there. They actually went back in 2017. That's when I originally rewatched a lot of them and updated those cases. So they have up to date information.
That website still exists.
This shit was
check it out.
That website still exists because the Netflix show obviously took off. I hope it comes back because it is probably the best like new version of it. It's never going to be the same without Robert Stack.
Right.
It never will.
I just got turned off of that Netflix one because it's like, okay, so these aliens, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm out.
I didn't like that. Yeah, like as someone who liked the original Robert Stack ones when they did the alien stuff, they did too many of those. So some of the other ones are fucking.
Some of the other ones are crazy. Like, my wife disappeared. She was driving. The last thing she said she was going to pull over and said hello, and then they never found like her car. And it's like,
it gets real.
Some
weird.
of those get real weird.
Really weird. So, but yeah,
another one I've watched is Bizarre Bub. B-U-B. Bizarre B-U-B. He kind of does like nukes as far as he gives like compilations of stuff that he's found, and it's just, some of that stuff is just absolutely terrifying because like a lot of it is like when people are just like live streaming and they're just like walking around their house and stuff, and all of a sudden people are like, "Hey man, did you just see that thing pop up in the back?" And I'd be like, nope, I'm moving out tomorrow. Like that. That's what's happening. I
had the other night after we watched a bunch of those, like randomly my back porch, like, cause that's a motion one, like went on at like 3 a.m.
Oh man, that gets.
And
I
just like, I'm immediately like, I probably sat watching that camera for like a half hour. So I'm like, is something out there? No, nothing's out there. It's just the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but no, I love watching all that kind of stuff on YouTube. That is probably what I watch the most on YouTube.
Same.
So at this point, like, yeah, it's more of that and like less of like retro game stuff, honestly.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I can go down holes on that for like an entire afternoon. Like I lost an entire Sunday to that one Urbex Hill channel. Just watched every video that guy made because they were all crazy.
Wild.
Next email we have comes from Mike from Waterloo, Iowa. Howdy, 572 crew. Are any of y'all watching Mania this upcoming weekend? Do you have any predictions? Also, have any of you played 2K24 yet? Thanks. So we're in the middle of Mania. I don't know if you want to talk about like any spoilers or anything. Maybe we can talk about that the next time, just because of where we're recording this episode.
We're recording it between night 1 and right before night 2. So
I will say right now, having seen night 1, this has probably been the best Mania in a while.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with it has a different feel to it because it really does feel like this is Triple H's first I ran this entire thing Mania.
Vince is not in charge. Yeah. And you can feel that he's not in charge.
I don't think there's been a single match where I've been like, I didn't care for that. Like they've all been pretty good.
Overall, it's been pretty solid so far.
Yeah. I would definitely say the feel of night 1 was way different than the previous WrestleMania.
I was telling Kyle,
Yes.
I said one of the things that really kind of proves that it's a different world now is there's a part where Michael Cole literally says, "Oh, this is stupid." Like he says something is stupid, but he said it in the context of if Vince had been there talking in his ear, the word stupid is not allowed to be said. Like all of those banned words, like you couldn't say stupid or entertainment or wrestling. Like, you know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff you couldn't say. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like they just talk and they say what they want to say, and they're told specifically to have fun. Like the best thing they've done on commentary for a while is, whether you like McAfee or not, pairing him with Cole is amazing because
it's been the best.
They react to each other so well
a lot
that it just seems like they're having a conversation about stuff.
It does.
Another thing they've been doing, WWE has been releasing like little snips and clips of the like commentary table.
Yeah,
when something happens, and it's nice to see like them just goof off with each other, because I think
that's pretty cool. Okay,
yeah. The other day, Pat McAfee and Michael Cole were at the table, and Awesome Truth was with them, and Cole said something to Miz about the fact that he hasn't won at a Mania in so long. And Truth was like, whoa, what are you doing, Michael? And Pat McAfee was like, yeah, don't act like that, Michael. You smell like poop. And Truth was like, yeah, you smell like a pool, too. And he was like, a pool? What are you talking about? And like, it just kind of went off on this whole crazy tangent.
And that's something that would have been highly regulated in the past.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's nice to see. It's just nice to see people actually enjoying what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the feel better. Realistically,
the crowd was very into it. Like they're very into the rivalries. Like I am surprised at how much people are into Jimmy versus Jay.
Yeah,
like, it is crazy. That match was huge in terms of like the hype for it.
Mm-hmm. So as far as 2K24, no.
Not yet. I will.
I just bought 2K23 like in January, dirt cheap. So, and I haven't even touched that. So I'll wait probably till like Black Friday time to look at 2K24. But I will look at it because I that's, for me, as someone who doesn't buy like regular sports games, that's like my annual sports game at this point.
Yeah.
So I just don't like buying
I've heard everything great and positive about it so far. I think for me, when I buy a PS5, that'll be the route I decide to buy.
There you go.
2K24. Yeah. Next email directed at me comes from Nathan from Columbus, Ohio. Hey guys, question for Kyle. With the Batman Part 2 being pushed back to another year, Matt Reeves' contract as director of the first one with WB running out in 2027, do you think it is possible we don't actually get a sequel to 2022 Batman? Is it possible Robert Pattinson will just become a one-off Batman? Or do you think that this Penguin show is kind of the last test to see if people still care? It just seems really weird for a property like Batman, of all things, to not be fast-tracked for release, considering the movie was extremely profitable. So, here's what I'll say. It's interesting because if you look at the board of all the Batman movies, especially adjusted for inflation, the Pattinson Batman movie is the only Batman movie that would not make $1 billion.
Yeah.
which scares Warner Brothers. So, you also have to remember we have all the James Gunn stuff. Yeah. James Gunn is doing his own Batman. Right. It will not be Pattinson Batman. It'll be someone completely different. Yeah, it'll be a different Batman because he's going to be older. He's going to have his son. There's going to build that relationship into a movie, which I think is fine. But are you realistically, and this is what I go to, is like, do you realistically think that Warner Brothers is going to let there be two Batmans at the same time in the movie world? I don't know.
It seems unlikely because, it's weird because Marvel is currently at a point where they have 3 Spider-Mans at one time.
Yeah.
But it's because of how they built it and it's integrated in such a way. Yeah. Right. But Warner Brothers has been so weird lately that, do they want to have competing Batman movies? And for them, I don't know. And then for them, because then you're having an argument where, well, I didn't like this one as much as the other one. Or do they want it to be where the solo one does better than the DCEU one?
That's the other thing.
That's a mistake. Right.
That's the other thing is like, what if people don't like who they inevitably choose to be that Batman? Right. We don't know that yet, who it's going to be. So
it could be a mistake where, the one that's not part of the universe we're trying to build is the good one.
Yeah.
And that takes away from what hopefully Gunn is building. But like, it already seems like the Gunn stuff is already being like, well, we changed this about the Superman movie and we're changing that part and we got to switch this around. And that person left and she stepped down, so I'm going to put somebody else in her. It's like, it already seems to be a problem.
I'll see that, but I will give him credit that he came out the other day because he's usually pretty direct with people, but he did come out the other day and say, like, hey, Superman is the protagonist. Lex Luthor is the antagonist. There is no other bullshit with who's who in this movie. He's not a clone. Like, it is Superman.
That's important for him to do, but there's already been multiple changes to a lot of these movies, and we haven't even started yet. And now, it's like
we got another year until we start.
Got Peacemaker season 2, but season 1 isn't canon anymore. Then why are we doing this?
It's just weird. It's weird to make that decision. Yeah. So I think the reality of the Batman situation is that I think you will get a part 2. I think that is the end. I don't think you get a part 3.
Seems more likely.
I think you get, obviously this Penguin show will come out. It's already filmed. It's set for this fall. I do think they will use that as a test. See, like, do people still care? Is that show successful? But I think you get your Batman part 2 in 2026. What I think this does is it pushes whatever James Gunn's Batman is to the back burner of the first chapter of what he's proposed.
Yeah.
Because they want to get Pattinson Batman done. And I think unless Pattinson Batman sequel makes $1 billion, you're not getting a part 3. Whether makes that's sense. In Matt Reeves' book, whatever he's written. I mean, we don't even know. And that's the crazy part is like, we're 2 years past when that movie came out. Potentially this would have been a year from now. We'd be getting the sequel, right? We don't even know who's in this movie. Mm-hmm. We don't know what villain it is.
Nothing.
We don't know what the context of it is. And I don't know if they're going to set that up in this Penguin show. They might.
Yeah.
But we don't know any of those answers, which is crazy at this point in the game. So it is weird. But I mean, I would like to see Pattinson Batman return. I love that first movie, but I liked it again. I liked it the most. You haven't watched it, Dan. You should.
No, I need to.
It's a detective movie.
Yeah, I need to.
And that's what made it awesome. So, but yeah, enough on that. But the short of it is, I do think that you will get a part 2 of Batman. I don't think you'll get a third one. I think that's going to be where it ends. Next email we have comes from Henry from Redacted. Hi, howdy 572. The last week, my store has had a huge uptick in reserves for Stellar Blade. I played the demo myself and it plays very well. My question is, do you think more game devs should bring back game demos? It seems like it's something we've really lost in recent years. It seems like Stellar Blade is a great example of a game that wasn't on people's radar until that demo hit. We've hit 20 pre-orders of it, and considering our current state of GameStop, that's an extremely high number. The only game we've hit higher than 20 in the last year was last year's Call of Duty. Anyways, What do you all think? I think for a game like, first of all, yes, they should put more demos out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think so.
Demos,
especially on new franchises. Stellar Blade's a new franchise.
Right.
This isn't like
there is some level of like hype or anticipation behind it. Only thing a demo is going to do is make it better.
Yep.
I probably should have put it in the what we've been playing, but I did play the demo. I think it's awesome. I was already signed on. I already reserved the game or whatever on Amazon because I thought it was a cool premise. But now playing the demo, like, it looks amazing visually. It does run. It runs exactly how you want an action game to play. It reminds me of Bayonetta. The best thing I could say to describe it. It reminds me of Bayonetta. So it looks awesome. And I'm not surprised. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think we should get more demos.
Right.
Instead of just like those brief times that you're like, Microsoft always does a thing around their showcase where they do like an indie thing where it's like, hey, there's 20 indie games. Here's all their demos. That's cool, but I think bigger games should get demos.
It's weird to think that their demos existed more back in the days of the physical media.
Yeah.
Where, like, PS1 discs,
demo
PS2 discs. Cube had demo discs.
Go to Pizza Hut, get a demo disc.
Xbox Magazine would always that was a big seller. Check it out. Here's all these cool demos and stuff. Now it's digital games where they could easily put out a demo and it doesn't
make any
seem
sense
to happen.
Really
at least games like even like Rebirth got a demo. That's a game that didn't even really need one, and they made one anyway.
Remember, I think my most played demo disc was whatever one had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on it.
Same,
because I just kept playing that over and over again.
I used to play demo discs a lot. Yeah,
demo discs were awesome.
I still have all my Xbox ones.
I have all mine somewhere.
Yeah,
so I had a bunch of PlayStation ones from PlayStation Underground.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah. But you're right. Like for a new series,
new franchise
like Stellar Blade,
incredibly important.
Yeah, because otherwise, how are people going to know what that game is other than having to go on YouTube and watch somebody play it or wait till it's out?
Yeah,
or any of that kind of stuff. And there are some demos that come out too, especially like RPG ones where it's transfer your progress. That's even better.
Yeah,
you can transfer your progress for Stellar Blade.
Even same thing. But like that should be kind of like a standard for things. Games like Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, they don't need demos.
You know what it is,
right?
No.
But there's a lot of times these games that are mid-level stuff you don't know.
Could you imagine if they put out a GTA 6 demo, how that would break things?
You wouldn't be able to download it because your system wouldn't be able to
use Xbox Live or PlayStation Network for like 2 weeks because everybody's trying to download that fucking demo.
God,
like, I could just see that breaking.
Well,
remember the 2011 blackout? It's back.
Imagine, but I mean, you talk about that. Imagine what that game's gonna be like when it launches at midnight.
Oh my God!
When it turns on.
At least you can preload it.
Yeah. Wild.
That is also the other reason I think that an online component for that game will be delayed too, though.
Yeah.
Because they already are anticipating like this can be a disaster when it launches.
And as for as popular as they think it's going to be, they're not even close.
They're not prepared.
Nope.
For whatever preparation they have, they are still not prepared for that
at all.
No. It's going to be wild. Our last email comes to us from Riley from San Diego, California. Hey, dudes, are any of you planning on seeing or watching the first Omen? It seems like it came out of nowhere and is getting rave reviews. Would love to hear your takes on it. So, Dan, you're automatically out of this because you hate horror movies.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I'm down.
And I will also say I've heard it is extremely gory.
No, thank you.
I would like to see it. I've always been a fan of the original Omen. I as a kid, I found that to be a pretty terrifying movie. I actually put those got those put on my server today because I want to rewatch the original one. It's been since I was a kid.
Yeah, I'd be down to watch that movie.
So it's been a long time. I remember the music being like really creepy in that movie, but it came out of nowhere. And the thing that's funny is I told my friend like a couple weeks ago, like they didn't really play trailers up for this movie. It's one of those that kind of just came out of nowhere. And when the trailers did come out, I said, well, it kind of looks really similar to that Immaculate movie. I don't think it's going to be good, because they're putting it out too close. And then to see it kind of just blow up this weekend and see a bunch of people talking about it. I mean, I had a conversation with that YouTuber at the convention about it.
Really?
Because that's what we talked about. Yeah. We were like, he's like, have you seen First Omen yet? I'm like, no, but I want to. He's like, it's an amazing horror movie. So I've heard nothing negative about it. So I do really want to see it. I do also, it's going to be one of those movies that's up within 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm not going to rush to the theater, but as soon as it is up digitally, I will watch it right away. So
same.
So I will have some sort of opinion on it probably in the next month, and I do plan on watching it. But I'm just surprised at how it blew up. So I really didn't expect it to become like it is. Literally like if you go on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, I think it's like a 92% or something. It's something absurd where you look at it as like if a horror movie is getting that high, it's insane. So you never see that. So. With that being said, as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Or, movie recommendations, game recommendations, whatever.
Tell us about stuff. If you went to MGC, tell us what you got.
Yeah, tell us if any of you probably did.
Probably did.
So, if you have any stories, if you went to MGC, I'd love to hear that.
What do you think about video games?
There was another one this weekend that was around here, maybe in like Ohio or something I saw. So we weren't the only one, but I also would why would you put a convention in the Midwest close to the MGC? That was my thought, but I saw it. There was definitely one in Ohio because I saw a post about it earlier today. So, but as always, thank you for listening to the podcast. We will be back in another 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.